fund the country's just energy transition. For SAFM News, ke Modupi Makgalemele.
Coming up in your sports, this is our third SA20 player auction set to take center stage today, and Iniesta to retire from football. I'll have more on this and other sports stories at 3:30.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Hello, welcome to the show. It's just gone 3 o'clock. I'm John in for Ashraf. It's the National Pulse. Let me tell you what we're feeling the pulse on today. It's the big story. The Judicial Service Commission says next week's sitting will go ahead of schedule. What does that mean? And why are we worried about that? Because Umkhonto we Sizwe Party has written to the Chief Justice requesting that sitting should await the outcome of the review application. They filed an appeal interdicting Parliamentary Leader Jon Gericke from joining the sitting. So we're going to talk to the MK Party's national spokesperson about what the current process is. The Judicial Services Commission saying, no, we're going to go ahead. But now the MK are saying that this could lead to problems because of the delegation from the National Assembly have been reduced now to 5 members, which means there's an imbalance that favors the ruling bloc over the opposition, that violates the constitutional requirement. The opposition must make up 50% of the delegation of the JSC. So we'll talk to MK about that. We'll get your views, and we'll get a couple of views throughout the afternoon on that issue. Our global watch today, it's quite local actually, because it's the Lesotho Highlands Water Project that's been closed. If you've ever gone down to Clarence and you've seen that ash water, the ash fallout, the massive amounts of water, huge amounts of water that pour into the Ash River out near Clarence, that's been shut down. It's been shut down for 6 months. And they're going to be working on that tunnel for 6 months. It's because water erodes, and it even erodes concrete. So they're just going to make sure that it's working, which is good news. But that means that 156,000 megalitres of water per month will not be making its way to Gauteng from the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. And we'll try and get an understanding of what the implications are for that. There's the Standard Bank, remember we spoke about this yesterday, the Standard Bank Group's sustainability project, this climate summit that is on the go. That happened today. We're going to get an update on that climate summit that we spoke about yesterday. We were looking forward to that. After 4 o'clock today, there's a press briefing on the go at the moment. These are the investigations into the Lusikisiki massacre. The police's top brass have arrived in the province. They're looking to make a breakthrough in that massacre, shocked the country. 18 people murdered in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape, 2 separate homes. There's a press briefing today. We will find out from our reporter and hopefully some of the power brokers there as well as to what the latest is and what the plans are to find these criminals. There's 12 entrepreneurs from South Africa, Malawi and Lesotho are in Paris. The Creation Africa Days event, I think it's just pronounced Creation Africa Days event, held at the French residence in Pretoria. That's on the go. It's a big global stage in Paris, which is good news. We'll find out a little bit more about that. And then Thabo Bester is just not going away. Every day we can talk about Thabo Bester. Now, the former Correctional Services Deputy has been let off the hook over Thabo Bester's infamous escape from the Mangaung prison. The Department of Correctional Service officials have now been fingered for their poor handling of the saga. 6 months from when they knew he had escaped until they reported it. And remember, this was back in May of 2022. The Department of Correctional Services claimed Bester had died after a fire had broken out in his cell. It emerged that Bester had walked out of the security disguised as a warder with the help of prison officials. 2 months later, a man who closely resembled Bester was spotted shopping at Woolworths in Sandton said, yeah, this is soap opera stuff, but the Department of Correctional Services has been fingered for the poor handling of that case. That and plenty more coming up in the next 3 hours. It's SAFM. Welcome to the show. I'm Jon Gericke in for Ashraf. Let's get going. Let's take the nation's pulse.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Open your mind to Life on Death Row, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and Resistance in a Hostile Environment, A 3-part documentary showcasing turning points which would go on to define race relations in the UK for a generation. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Wind down your weeknights with The Outlaws, Fridays at 9 p.m. and explore the world's most dangerous roads at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
Health experts say that taking care of your baby starts the day you learn you have conceived. Changes should start immediately, from what you eat to how you take care of yourself. After you've delivered your baby, does the worry stop? No, it doesn't. From there, it's clinic visits, breastfeeding, introducing solids, and the list goes on. If you are a mom, father, or caregiver and are curious on how to support your kids' development to reach their full potential, or even concerned about the nutrition that strengthens their bodies, then our new SABC education feature, Side by Side, is for you. Get all the advice you need from the Department of Health by tuning in every Wednesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. on The Full Circle on SAFM, starting in October. Tune into the feature and you could win 1,000 Rand with our monthly competition. Side by Side, brought to you by SABC Education on SAFM, leading the conversation.
The reality is that 90% of South Africans don't save enough for retirement. This National Seniors Month, why not be part of the 10% who do? Choose an interest rate of up to 11.7% after 60 months with a Nedbank Electronic Optimum Plus account. Anyone 55 and over can open one on the Money app in less than 2 minutes. Go to nedbank.co.za for more info. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
12 minutes past 3, the Judicial Service Commission says next week's sitting will go ahead as scheduled. That despite the fact that Umkhonto we Sizwe Party has written to the Chief Justice Mandisa Maya requesting the sitting should await the outcome of the review application, that they filed an appeal interdicting Parliamentary Leader John Gericke from joining the sitting. What's next for the party following that announcement? Nhlamulo Ndlela is the MK Party's national spokesperson, joins us now. Nhlamulo, thank you very much for joining us. What's next for you now that they've said the JSC has said they're going ahead?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. Well, our lawyers are currently reviewing the letter and working on what the legalities are and what options we effectively have at our disposal. Until then, there's not much we can say besides the fact that we note the response and will then take the necessary action or route once the lawyers have done their assessment.
So that's 7 days away. They're going to start next week, Monday. So you're hoping to get this done by tomorrow?
Look, our attorneys have been working, and they continuously working flat out. As you would see in many instances, they had to churn out any documentation. So I have no doubt that they really have their hand to the wheel on this, and they will certainly give us a way forward that is favorable or is the best option at this point. But this is one thing that is important, I think, for the listeners to know and to note. I mean, if you look at the sequence of events of how it transpired here, and that's why we say that this, quite honestly, raises a lot of flags, including other parties such as XNSA have also raised these kind of things. This is unheard of and unprecedented that a court would, quite honestly, overreach into internal parliament processes that are within the law in terms of parliament's privileges. Now, if you look at the turnaround time at which it took the judges 3 weeks knowing very well that it's going to lead into Parliament going into recess. We are currently in recess. Everything just looks so orchestrated, in terms of how we arrived at this point. The timing in which the case was lodged, them knowing very well that, they could delay this until such a time when Parliament is in recess to even review its own internal processes in the first place. So all of this is just very telling. That's why we said this is a politically blatant outcome from a court. There's other analysts that have also said the same, that this is now a political judgment and no longer a court judgment.
You say that. What is your view of the fact to have a judge president who was removed from his position for gross judicial misconduct to be sitting on the JSE?
Well, I think let's also inform the listeners. And everyone keeps talking about this impeachment and impeachment. We keep saying, yes, this is a political decision. Impeachment is a political decision. Now, when we talk about gross misconduct,
what's political about that? He was removed because of gross judicial misconduct.
No, let's get to that point. What is gross misconduct to you? What gross misconduct was there? What evidence did they show that led to gross misconduct? Are you aware?
So
no one.
You say there's no evidence of gross misconduct?
Besides the fact that Dr. Hlophe at that point in time, in a discussion with his colleagues, said, look, this is now out of my hands, it's in your hands. And for that comment, he's now being concluded and painted as a person who tried to influence his comrades and his colleagues at that point in time. And then we refer to that as gross misconduct. I mean, certain things, quite honestly, we say things and we like speaking without actually taking into consideration when we refer to this impeachment, this gross misconduct. What is this gross misconduct? Quite honestly, maybe we need to get into exactly what that is. Because that's why we continue to say that this was a political process. This was a political agenda. They buried Hlophe. Now they exhume him and rebury him. But such is the case with black professionals who are competent and, when it comes to them participating in issues that in most cases the likes of the DA and the racists would not want to see a black person performing and participating. They'll do everything possible to get rid of them.
It's the decision was made by a judicial conduct tribunal, not by political parties.
No, I'm not saying that it was done by a political party, that it was made by a political party. I'm saying the basis of it is questionable.
Okay. The tribunal found that his actions violated the Constitution and seriously threatened the independence and dignity of the Constitutional Court.
But that's the question I'm asking. What actions? By saying that to his colleagues? That's it. Can you give me anything else?
Why doesn't MK, because I understand that you're supporting Dr. Hlophe, which is fantastic. Why doesn't MK just put forward another member of parliament?
Why not Dr. Hlophe?
Because one of the issues you've raised is that the JSE might not now be created correctly. It might be constitutionally incorrect because it needs to have opposition of at least 50%. So in the interests of moving the country forward, say, all right, until Jon Gericke has been cleared, according to you, we will put forward this member of parliament.
No, but that would be conceding to an undemocratic and unconstitutional process.
No, what's more democratic than keeping the democracy moving forward?
What's more democratic is allowing the process that the people's will and Parliament, via vote, nominated Dr. Hlophe to sit in this JSE. That is what is democratic. That's what is important. That's what's normal.
Okay, but then if that is against the law, then that's also the decision of the people. The Constitution is higher than that. We've seen this many times.
No, but the Parliament's rules and how the JSE is constituted draws its powers from the Constitution, the same Constitution you're referring to, the same Constitution that the DA wants to protect. But now they use the courts to infringe on people's rights, whom they got directly from the Constitution itself.
Okay, so the issue at hand here, Nhlomolo, is that okay, so I want to go back to my original question. So what is the process now? You're sitting and waiting for lawyers to make a decision. If the JSE goes ahead without the lawyers having made a decision, what will be next for MK?
I think what is important to note is that this case has now become so much more complex than what meets the eye. Now, and this is what exactly our lawyers are combing through in terms of what the options that are available to us are. As you would have seen, the letter that came from Justice Meyer says that they believe that he's still a member, but the issue of him participating is a different story, and they want to obviously adhere to the court outcome of the interim order. Until, our lawyers obviously tell us what we need to do, I mean, we're not going to say much besides the fact that with him still there, the JSC is still duly constituted, if you want to put it that way.
All right,
but that's a decision we'll have to take within the party, obviously in line with our attorneys. Yeah.
And Judge Dr. Hlophe is your man. Doesn't matter what happens.
Dr. Hlophe is the man, and upon the determination of what options are available to us, we'll communicate to the public.
All right, we'll keep an eye closely on that. We'll see what your lawyers come up with. Thank you very much. And Tlamulo Ndlela is the MK Party's national spokesperson. It's 3:21.
When self-made billionaire Wilton Knight rescues police detective Lieutenant Michael Long after a near-fatal shot to the face, he gives him a new identity and a new name, Michael Knight. Paired with the unique Knight Industries 2000 aka kit, they are brought in during situations where direct action might provide the only feasible solution. Kusazo Shuba and Michael Knight and Kit are ready to rise to the occasion. Channel your best retro with Knight Rider, weekdays at 12 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
The following advert is directed at HR and finance executives.
Hi there.
Hi.
Your talk on employee benefits earlier was very insightful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm trying to figure out who I should connect with on how best to structure our company's employee benefits. Any suggestions?
Well, I trust Old Mutual Corporate Consultants. They offer expert advice on optimal investment strategies, retirement fund management, employee benefits design, and much more. This means you'll get the best advice on your employee's future.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Corporate Consultants is a division of Fairburn Consult, FSP 9328, a licensed FSP and member of the Old Mutual Group. T's and C's apply.
For 18 years, Kumbalekaya has been fostering healing through forgiveness and reconciliation.
Are you asking me that? Yes. I grew up without a mom.
So what happened to your family?
What family? You are my family. What happened to you?
Witness as families forgive one another and reunite after a long time. Catch the new season of Kumbalekaya on SABC1 every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
3:23. This has been bubbling under for a while. It's finally happened. The Lesotho Highlands water system's been closed for maintenance. It'll go on for 6 months starting today. During the period, there'll be no transfer of water from the Katse Dam to the Muela hydropower station, which will result in the stoppage of power generation at the hydropower station in Lesotho. And there will also be no delivery of water from Lesotho to South Africa through the 37-kilometer delivery tunnel that comes just outside of Clarence. Let's get an update on that. Rapilang Khadebe, SABC correspondent in Lesotho, has been watching all of this. Rapilang, what's the latest out there? I'm imagining Lesotho, they got most of their electricity from that hydropower station.
In fact, it's the only electricity, good afternoon and to your listeners, that is produced hydro water from Lesotho. The rest has to be imported from South Africa and elsewhere. So this will hit on both sides. When South Africa loses water, clearly Lesotho also loses electricity.
Okay, so what are they doing for electricity? Buying it from Eskom?
Clearly have to buy from Eskom. I think they also have a deal with Mozambique. I think there's a combination of that, combination of strategy of how they import electricity. But clearly the cost rises significantly because now they have to buy at peak. But with the hydro, they are able at least to see which is the best time to buy, to play around with the figures in terms of cost.
Yeah, it was one could argue about who wins the most in this deal, but I think the big one is that they were getting all of the electricity, even more electricity than from from that hydroelectric system. As for South Africa and the water, we've been told that it's not going to be a problem. We have enough in the other dams to be able to supply from us. What are they saying up there?
Yeah, that is true. Well, this has been a planned maintenance, so there was enough supply to make sure that the delivery, which is about 980 million meters per second, has been transferred. So I think they were just short of about 1 month, which is really insignificant when you look at it. But the problem is now, once water gets to the South African side, it cannot hold as long as even the storage becomes a problem. The evaporation rate, it gets a bit high. But I think it was strategic because this is a season where summer comes back, moderate rains come to effect, so the impact is not as bad, but still no one can take chances because there has to be absolute caution as to how water must be used. It has to be as sparingly as possible.
Have you had an opportunity to get out to that dam and see if they turn a big switch to be able to switch the water off?
Look, I have been previously gone into that tunnel. They go through a phase that they call a dewatering, which is a very boring process because they slowly let go of the water such that there's no vacuum. You don't shock the tunnel, you know. So it's a bit boring. For the next month, really, it's going to be like watching paint dry. So there's nothing really happening.
So they don't just switch it off. In other words, if I went to Clarence now to that Ash River outfall, there would still be water flowing, just slower and slower.
You'll have to sit there for a month to see a significant impact. So it's only then that slowly they start from the extreme side of things. There will still be some water seeping out because it collects also into its own tunnel. So it starts slowly. By the time it gets dry, and it's very cold inside that tunnel. It's extremely cold. So they need the warm weather such that at least it can compensate. At the same time, it shouldn't be too hot because otherwise there is moisture that is gathering. It's quite a delicate but interesting process.
What are they going to be doing to the tunnel? I imagine that it's just concrete that's getting millions or billions of liters of water flowing over. It just needs to be maintained.
That is true. With time, as the concrete walls settles, they now have to go and look for minor cracks that could develop. They have to see that the concrete and the structure in all, remember, combination is over 67 kilometers, but 2019 assignment of maintenance gave them exactly where they need to be doing the maintenance. So it's not just sporadic. They know exactly where the areas of vulnerability that they need to attack, and they have get as much manpower as possible. I'm told a troop of close to 300 men will be trying to attack one particular places such that it's as fast, as quick as possible, and such that any eventualities is all taken care of.
One thing I didn't think of is if there's this much water that's not flowing now into Gauteng, 5.2 billion liters per day, that's going to go over the Katse Dam, won't it? Are downstream people ready for that?
I'm not sure if I missed you. Are you still here?
Yeah. All right. Let me ask the question again.
Okay. Yes, you're right. Yeah, the natural flow, they are hoping that because the rain season starts, there will still be a moderate flow. But of course, people along the river will have to be pretty careful because now the natural flow is lower than expected. Because remember, there is also a mission that they need to maintain the quality of the river such that if it gets too low, they need to be able to release the water. It is managed, and they take advantage of that because it's the rainy season, the impact would not be as bad. But clearly, your usual natural flow of water will be disrupted, especially for the next 6 months.
Yeah. That whole Ash River, and 6 months. Yeah, it doesn't sound like a very long time. But it's enough time for things to change ecologically. You know, fish might move up. Things might change quite a lot in that first stretch of the Ash River. And hopefully they obviously thought about all of that, right?
That's true. They were saying it's a combination of some of the best minds that get to predict all types of scenario. Because I asked the question and say, we got the snow, unprecedented level of snows this past weekend. How would that affect the scenario? They said, look, there's number of rivers that can be diverted if worst case scenarios come, such that the integrity of every river is maintained. So they have all scenarios and synopses in place. And they said not to worry, but of course, when you do maintenance, anything is possible. But they said, look, they don't expect much anomalies to happen.
Right, Rapaleng, keep warm. Rapaleng Khabed is SABC correspondent based in Lesotho. You're with SAFM, it's exactly 3:30.
Thanks, John, and a very good afternoon with the news headlines at 3:30. Kemudupi Makhalemele. The Presidential Climate Commission has called on the government and the private sector to consider local communities when addressing the just energy transition. The Border Management Authority has confirmed the immediate suspension of a female immigration officer for being in possession of 6 passports belonging to foreign nationals from Malawi. And Deputy President Paul Mashatile has officially opened trading for today on the London Stock Exchange in the British capital. Those are your headlines. A full news update at 4.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 westbound in Eldorado Park has delays near Golden Highway. Mabopane Highway westbound in Pretoria has delays towards Bremer Street exit. In Durban, the N3 reopened between Market Road and Ashburton after earlier blasting works. That's causing delays, and the N2 northbound has a crash reported near Sabaya Drive. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is queuing on the link to the R300 highway, and on the N2, a serious crash reported just west of Albertinia, so you're asked to expect delays. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Tumi, hello.
Hi, John.
How's it going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic with a capital T. Don't laugh, it's true. I'm happy for a change. What's in the sport?
Well, we're starting off with cricket this hour, where there's 6 franchise clubs that are busy finalising their squads in preparation for the highly anticipated Season 3 of the SA20 that is set to begin on the 9th of January next year. This afternoon, the third Betway SA20 player auction will take centre stage in Cape Town, and it's starting around 4:15. Now, star names that have entered the auction include West Indies fast bowler Shamar Joseph, Jake Ball, Oli Robertson and Josh Hull, the England fast bowling trio, and the record-breaking opener for the T20 internationals from New Zealand, Martin Guptill, and the best home ground talent and upcoming rookies. Out of the 188 local and foreign players who have enrolled, 13 picks will be made. Then moving on to football, Stellenbosch FC coach Steve Barker says that attacker Bradley Mujela is fast becoming an influential player for the club. The 28-year-old was signed from TS Galaxy at the start of the season and has already scored 5 goals in 8 matches from all competitions. And Barker spoke about Mujela's form ahead of the MTN 8 against Orlando Pirates on Saturday in Durban.
Bradley's been really good for us. I mean, he's getting on the score sheet. He's scoring some really good goals. So yeah, it's nice that he's scoring and he's playing with a lot of confidence. So, he's a handful for any team. A lot of energy, a lot of movement, a lot of pressing. And adding goals to that means he's a formidable player for us. So yeah, happy for him. But yeah, well taken goal. Hopefully his goal scoring can continue.
Staying with football, Andre Iniesta has announced that he will retire from football on the 8th of October in tribute to his iconic number 8 jersey. The 40-year-old clocked 1,016 games and lifted 38 trophies in a glittering career spanning 22 years. Meanwhile, the spotlight is on Champions League tonight, and pick of the evening is Arsenal hosting PSG. Mikel Arteta facing a former teammate at Barcelona, Luis Enrique, who is now the head coach of Paris Saint-Germain. The Gunners Gunners will be without Mikel Merino and Martin Odegaard, as well as Alexander Zinchenko and potentially Ben White, while PSG are missing a plethora of starters, including Lucas Hernandez and Ousmane Dembele. Then in rugby, Jacques Nienaber is set to bring a key element of the Springbok setup to Leinster, allowing senior players to sit in the coaching box during games. Now, the tactic has proved successful for the Springboks, most notably with Dwayne Vermeulen watching from the box during the 2023 World Cup pool against the Ireland, and Siya Kolisi during that same the 2024 Rugby Championship match against Argentina. Now, at Leicester, current captain Caelan Doris was the first to experience the approach, joining the coaches in the box during their win over the Dragons last Friday. And Nienaber, who's been quick to integrate elements of the Bok blueprint into his new role at the Irish club, sees this as a way to broaden player perspectives and also strengthen the leadership group as a whole. Then in motorsport, having secured a race seat with Red Bull-owned RB, Liam Lawson says that he's quite mindful that he could lose his Formula One chance in months if he fails to perform for the rest of the season. Now, the 22-year-old, announced as Daniel Ricciardo's replacement, will return to racing at the Sprint Weekend in Texas on the 20th of October, the first of a triple header that includes Mexico and Brazil. He's heavily backed to retain his RB seat next season, with only Japanese teammate Yuki confirmed for 2025. Looking forward to see how he's going to perform. With that said, it's a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Could you be a Formula One driver? Do you think?
Me?
Yeah.
I think I could.
I think I could too. I think it's...
At one stage, I was called Schumacher.
You were called Schumacher?
Yeah, because I'm a fast driver.
Oh, yeah, really? What, do you drive a fast car?
No, I just drive
You just drive
fast.
fast in a really...
Yes.
That's the fun thing, because you can do flat and you're flying, but you're doing like 80 k's an hour. Yeah.
John.
Well within the speed limit, because my car can't go any faster. So,
John.
So you think you could be a Formula One driver, huh?
I think I can.
I think everybody can.
You think so?
I think so. I
Are
think
you
we
a
should.
fast driver?
No, well, I like to do the go-karting thing. I did go-karting once, and my arm got sore from just turning the steering wheel, like for 20 minutes. Yeah? And these guys do it for 2 hours.
I've done go-karting once also.
Did you win? You see, no.
I don't remember. I haven't done it in such a
All
long
right,
time.
go-karting
Listen,
afternoon.
I can do F1. That's the...
F1, yeah. Forget go-karting. Let's start at the top and work our way down. All right. I think we're going to have an afternoon of go-karting. We'll do the show from a go-karting track. That'd be fun.
Please.
Before Ashraf comes back. Don't tell anybody. It's 23 minutes to 4.
Weeknights on S3 are anything but ordinary. BBC Primetime brings you the best of British television from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Open your mind to Life on Death Row, Thursdays at 9 p.m. and Resistance in a Hostile Environment, a 3-part documentary showcasing turning points which would go on to define race relations in the UK for a generation. Thursdays at 10 p.m. Wind down your weeknights with The Outlaws, Fridays at 9 p.m. and explore the world's most dangerous roads at 10 p.m. Channel your best entertainment with BBC Primetime, only on S3. Open up.
This summer, we have extra large offers on Ford Ranger XL, XLT and Wildtrak from only $481,900 for a Ranger XL single cab 4x2. It's the extra large Ranger offer from only $481,900. Visit your nearest participating Ford dealer. Optional service plan included. While stocks last. T&Cs apply.
Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Let's take a couple of voice notes. Many have come through about Dr. Hlophe and the JSE.
Afternoon, Gericke. Speaking to Swiss. You know, MK should stop this because I don't understand. Because Dr. Hlophe was found impeached by the parliament because of distrust by the parliament. Yes, there are things, even myself, that I question about him, why he was removed. According to say, he said to those judges that implicates him about trying to convince about Mr. Jacob Zuma. He said, it's over to you. I don't think that person was supposed to be. But according to MK, they have to stay far about this. Because when someone is being impeached, it shows that they don't trust the justice. If they want to put him on the justice, it means that the South African, they will never trust the MK themselves. Thank you.
Hey, John. John, asking Nkamolo before he leaves that, just this question. Nkamolo, don't you get tired of defending the unpresident, as you say, political party? Like, don't you get tired, man? Like, how do you look at yourself when you get home alone in your own personal space? Like, I always hear you when you come on radio and being a spokesperson for this political party. It's like you ignore everything and you just push this narrative that you are on about. Don't you get tired, Nkamolo? Save your reputation, man. Gwena.
You're at SAFM. We'll take more voice notes later on. We'll take your calls as well. Don't forget, phone lines always open. 086 000 2032.
Who says talking never solves anything? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
19 minutes to 4. Standard Bank hosted its 4th annual Climate Summit earlier today. The keynote address delivered by the Minister of Electricity and Energy. Let's find out a little bit more about what happened there today with Luvuyo Masinda, Standard Bank's Corporate and Investment Banking Chief Executive. Luvuyo, thank you very much for joining us. Successful Climate Summit today?
Good afternoon, John, and thanks for having me. Yes, I would say very successful. On the basis that the quality of the participants, ranging from policymakers, example of the minister you mentioned, corporates, people representing some of the communities who might be impacted by this transition, all participated. And the discussion has definitely moved towards looking for practical solutions as we deal with what is quite a complex topic.
Trying to get everybody talking and moving in the same direction, I imagine, is the big talking point, right?
Absolutely, and what does make it often difficult is that, our summit focuses across the African continent, so it's not just South Africa focus. And with that comes the complexity of all of the countries are starting from different positions, and what the transition, just transition for each of the countries differs, given the various circumstances. But I'm encouraged, though, that there is a clear recognition for that, and some of the key challenges that still remain, there's quite a number of consistencies across the various countries.
As a big business role player, one with lots of money that you can help develop this thing, how do you view your role in advancing this mitigation of climate change?
Yeah, so the first point I would make is that what we do as a bank is premised on our purpose, and we've defined it as Africa as a home with driver growth. As it relates to this particular topic, we've made a commitment to mobilize 250 billion rand of funding towards activities in this space or up until 2026. As at June this year, we had mobilized and extended over 140 billion rand, so tracking well ahead. So that's one component. But we also recognize that us as a bank on its own, we just don't have sufficient resources to deal with what is quite a major challenge that we face. And a large part of what we do actually is then collaborating with other financiers and seeking money from outside of the continent that's looking to fund these type of projects.
That's important. It's fascinating you say that. We always taught everybody must work for themselves, try and put other business or financial entities out of business. We want to be the biggest, the best. Whereas you guys are all working together for this, what I imagine is a bigger goal.
Absolutely, and I think firstly, I think it's just the right thing to do, but also secondly, the success of this continent is so important for the success and sustainability of our businesses. And so both from a commercial purpose and what is right in doing business and impact to our communities, it's such an easy thing for us to get to, and that is to work with other financial institutions and multilaterals or development financial institutions across the globe.
It's the fourth summit. What sort of changes have you observed, and where is the opportunity to do more?
I think the first thing, which was one of the last reflections we made, often these type of summits, you tend to focus on what needs to be done. But there was actually quite an important reflection on what has been done, even over the last 4 years. If you think about what's happened in South Africa, the changes that have been made from a regulatory, which has seen just the incredible investment, for example, in solar panels for self-generation for households, has really transformed and brought a lot of investment and jobs in this particular economy. And so we think the policymakers continue to have a role to create the appropriate environment for the investment to come in. One of the other topics that has come up is, as this investment comes in, we need to find a way that it also leaves a lasting benefit for local South Africans. So how do we make sure that this investment also has a big focus on local content for us to create industries to build some of this technology that is required, such that it leaves a lasting impact across our communities and our country.
That's a valid point. When we were importing all of the solar panels from China, for example, we should be making them ourselves if we can.
Absolutely.
Right, that kind of thing. That's the opportunity to do more. We talk about this net zero across the continent. Are we going to hit those targets? What's it, 2030, 2050? All these dates have been thrown out?
I think it's unlikely that some of the targets that have been mentioned will be reached. And part of the challenge actually is it's multifaceted, but one of the bigger ones is the ability to find the right finance for our various governments to make the required investments. What we don't have, though, is the luxury of not pushing hard. I mean, we see the drastic change in weather patterns and the direct impact it has on all of us, all small businesses. If you think about the impact of the drought in parts of some provinces in parts of South Africa, and on the other side of South Africa, the floods that we've seen. And so this is real, and it does require a really concerted effort with pace and urgency to resolve.
Yeah, so when you mention figures like the Standard Bank is doing the 250 billion rand in financing by the end of 26, you think, oh, that's a lot of money. But then if you balance that out, as you say, with the damage caused and with the cost of moving people, the cost of lack of food, all those kind of things, it's suddenly just a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, the opportunity cost for us not getting this right and doing it early enough, the cost that we'll be facing in the future is just multifold from the investment that we believe is required up front now. Okay, so not just a talk shop, or hopefully something will be done. Were there goals set out for the next year before the 5th of the Climate Summit? Look, I mean, the goals tend to happen through a couple of ways. I think, fortunately, one of the things we found is a lot of the people who represent the various organizations or government departments have already set their own goals for their own organization. So that's actually been one of the great progress that we've seen of this summit over the last 4 years. Initially, we were all sort of trying to figure out the direction of travel, whereas now we are all refining each other's goals and targets. And so it's not starting from scratch. It's about now tracking each of our individual targets and amplifying our ability to collaborate even more.
Lavoya Masinda, thank you very much, and thank you to Standard Bank as well for holding that summit. Standard Bank's Corporate and Investment Banking Chief Executive, Lavoya Masinda, joining us here on SAFM.
The following advert is directed at HR and finance executives.
Hi there.
Hi.
Your talk on employee benefits earlier was very insightful.
Oh, thank you.
I'm trying to figure out who I should connect with on how best to structure our company's employee benefits. Any suggestions?
Well, I trust Old Mutual Corporate Consultants. They offer expert advice on optimal investment strategies, retirement fund management, employee benefits design, and much more. This means you'll get the best advice on your employee's future.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Corporate Consultants is a division of Fairburn Consult FSP 9328, a licensed FSP and member of the Old Mutual Group. T's and C's apply.
Dawn breaks across the lush Serengeti plain, but paradise is fleeting as the animals face fresh challenges. Kali the lioness and Bakari the baboon may seem safe in their rock fortresses, but with rivals encroaching on all sides, their future hangs in the balance. Out on the plains, Duma the cheetah faces his destiny, and down by the river, baby hippo Mafuta strikes up an unlikely friendship with the crocodile Magamba. Channel your inner explorer with Serengeti Season 3, Sundays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
Did you know that 80% of South Africa's barley is sold to the beer industry? This locally sourced barley, along with other natural ingredients, plays a vital role in beer production, contributing 2.2 billion rand to the country's agricultural GDP. Join South African breweries on the 3rd of October in Caledon as we dive into the state of the beer economy. SAB, brewing a future full of cheers. South Africa, be sharp, not for sale to persons under 18.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Enjoy a little polony, enjoy a little soup, quick instant soup. You like that? Some pies? Lekker, lunchtime, pies from the garage. It's the best. It's heartburn for the rest of the day. But now, due to health implications of ultra-processed foods, experts are urging the government to be proactive in safeguarding against foods that I just mentioned. What's concerning is recently the World Health Organization ranked South Africa amongst the nations with the highest levels of obesity. Let's talk about this with Dr. Angelique Kutsia, member of the South African Medical Association. Doc, thanks very much for joining us. Are you taking away my pies?
Yes, John, unfortunately. The good part is you won't get heartburn.
Yeah, it's probably because of whatever's in those pies. Tell me about what is an ultra-processed food?
So, very interesting. Ultra-processed food is, classified as unhealthy ingredients and additives. And that's the problem because it's high in sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. And that trans fats, sodium, and sugars can unfortunately raise your cholesterol levels, blood pressure, cardiovascular diseases, as well as if you do have chronic kidney disease, this will lead to further deterioration of your kidney function and putting you in trouble with a view going forward to maybe get dialysis for those high or those low kidney function that you will then encounter.
Yeah, I was going to say, but when I was a teenager, when I was studying, I relied on these fast foods, the instant noodles, 2-minute noodles to get that in, at least keep me going. But I guess I'm feeling that as I get older now, and I'm on drugs because of that, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, you will go. Remember, it's not only the sugar and the salt and unhealthy fats. It's also the low nutritional value because these foods often lack your essential vitamins, mineral, and fiber. And unfortunately, as a student, that can lead to malnutrition over a long time because of these calorie consumptions and the stuff that it is containing.
So what is the suggestion then, this government to be proactive in safeguarding? Is it changing the ingredients or getting these off the shelf completely?
Well, if the companies and manufacturers are willing to look at the high processed, the carbohydrates and the sugar levels and salt levels, if they can bring that down with the unhealthy trans fatty, it might work. And one can keep it, but it becomes difficult because how do you control it? Currently, they are supposed to, to list their preservatives that's in the salt intake, the carbohydrate. But the problem is how many people read that. I think they read it, and that might be, one of the problems. So people doesn't read what they eat. And as I've said, that leads to health problems.
Yeah, they also make it as complicated as possible. They use as many letters in the names of some of these ingredients that when you're typing it into Google to find out what it does, Google just laughs at you because there's just too many letters there and you just give up.
Exactly. So in the end, you will become a patient. The problem again is young children. So if you eat high sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats, and you're 9 years of age or even younger, you will definitely have problems going forward with as you get older, especially if there's a genetic predisposition for diabetes in your family, as I've already mentioned, cholesterol or high blood pressure. You are putting yourself up for problems roundabout in your late 30s, beginning of 40s. Unfortunately, because of these foods that you have eaten, and remember, it leads to obesity as well. So you don't want these little fat children and even fat adults because they eat too much pies or having too many noodles because it's easy.
It's a budget thing, though, Dr. Angelique Kutsia. I went to the shops the other day to try and buy healthy stuff. I'm getting all the points now at my health thing, and it costs a lot of money to buy healthy food, whereas I can just go to the garage and buy a $25 pie.
You're absolutely right. This is one of the problems that we are sitting with the economy that is not really helping salaries that are low. And as you correctly said, you can get a pie, which seems cheap, but the long-term effect of having regular pies with low nutritional value and digestive issues, as I've said, high sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats, will eventually take its toll. And then you're sitting with a healthcare industry that's not at the best currently with preventative medicine. And we will have a problem. You're absolutely right. We will say to patients, eat more healthy foods like your vegetables and raw as possible, and as well as fruits. But if you look at the price, it is, I can't argue against the fact that these unhealthy foods are much cheaper than the healthy foods.
Got to find the specials. So I just want to get back to the headline in this article that we found by Marzan Janssen van Rensburg says, instant noodles and garage pies to disappear from SA shelves. Do you think that is the correct way to do it, or is it let's change the ingredients so that whoever's making these things can make them more healthy or less unhealthy?
I would agree with the latter, that we first need to look at whether we can regulate this industry better, because, you can still sell a pie with less salt, less trans fatty acids in. You can look at that and see whether that cannot help. Again, looking at the consumer, looking at the price and the rand and cents that we are having. Remember, at some stage, we sell bread, and the bread then becomes much better. You now get low GI bread that keeps you more the hunger more at bay. It's that so that these foods, you need to look at the satiety effects of these foods, because unfortunately, what we currently see, they are low in protein and fiber, and that is essential for feeling full. So we can look at that. Yeah.
We just got a message saying, start a carnivore diet. Problem solved. Tell Dr. Angelique Coetzee. We were just talking about money. Have you seen the price of a steak?
That is even worse. You will get a heart attack just by looking at the price of the steak. We all try to get to look at the chicken, which is also just as expensive.
So again, it comes down to money. I'd love to do a carnivore diet, whatever that might be. I'd love to eat steak every day, but it's 250 rand a kilo. It's out of my price range. I don't know about most people in the country, and that's the issue, and that's part of those discussions that are going to have to be had.
Exactly. The problem is, even if you want to buy sausage, the normal boerewors, if you need to look at what is in that as well. You need to look at, we just need better regulation, and then we need to train people to look at what they eat and force the manufacturers to actually tell us what the ingredients are. And again, it should be easy, it should be simple, so that the everyday person can look at the package and then decide, what should I eat? If you look at the noodles, the 2-minute noodles, look at the high salt intake or the high salt value. And then you can make your own maths on that.
All right, we have to leave it there. Dr. Angelique Coetzee, thank you very much. Member of the South African Medical Association. Are you worried that your pies and your 2-minute noodles are gone? If you're a student, you live on beer and pizza. Well, I did. I don't know if you can afford a pizza now. It's like $150 or something. You're with SAFM. Madupi as your news at 4 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Mr. G. The top stories: Asawa calls to consider locals in energy transition plans, and Mashadida opens trading on the London Stock Exchange. A very good afternoon. The Presidential Climate Commission has called on the government and the private sector to consider local communities when addressing the just energy transition. The transition involves a move from coal, oil and gas to cleaner forms of energy like solar and wind. South Africa is aiming to integrate the move from coal-fired power stations by 2050 without any negative impact on people. The Commission's Crispian Olva took part in a panel discussion at the 4th Standard Bank Climate Summit in Joburg.
Our concern is around the social and the economic impact of this transition. So how do we make sure that workers and communities are not the ones that are bearing all the costs and taking all the risks? And also, how do we ensure that opportunities are fairly shared? So, can we make sure that in this transition we create more jobs than we lose? And can we make sure that those are decent jobs, they're in the right place, and that workers and communities are supported to transition from one sector to the other?
Earlier, Energy Minister Kgosian Ramokgopa called for a concerted effort to integrate the country's renewable energy sources to mobilize resources to fund the country's just energy transition. He delivered the keynote address at the summit.
Our own computation suggests that we'll need about 1.5 trillion rands for us to achieve the kind of ambition that we have set for ourselves. So we welcome the fact that for the 4th year running, Standard Bank has occasioned this conversation. So bringing into the fold, if you like, the fraternity to say how best can they support this net zero path. So it's important that in this conversation, we don't leave anyone behind, and all the major players also are able to take a position and see how best they can contribute towards it's a country effort, of course, led by government.
The Border Management Authority has confirmed the immediate suspension of a female immigration officer for being in possession of 6 passports belonging to foreign nationals from Malawi. She was found with 3,700 rand in cash, which she could not account for. 6 suspected illegal immigrants have also been arrested. The 52-year-old was arrested in a police sting operation at the Beitbridge port of entry on Sunday while she was on duty. Moving abroad now, Deputy President Paul Mashatile has officially opened trading for today on the London Stock Exchange in the British capital. Mashatile is on a working visit there. He met with stakeholders from government and business people about investment opportunities in South Africa. He's also expected to strengthen public-private partnerships, which will contribute to South Africa's creation of a conducive environment for economic prosperity and transformation. Mashatile earlier addressed a gala dinner in London.
We want to see more businesses from the UK investing in South Africa. We are happy that there are many others who are already there. I'm told that here at the London Stock Exchange, we probably have more than 20 big South African corporates who are listed here, and many more probably are going to do so. But please know that we want you down there in South Africa. That's our mission.
And finally, back home, the current cold front over the Western Cape has seen a light dusting of snow over the Swartberg Mountains in the Little Karoo. Oudtshoorn residents woke up this morning to snow-covered peaks. However, there wasn't enough for them to head out to the farms at the foot of the mountains to have fun in the snow. Local resident Angelique Erasmus says they had to pull out their winter jackets today.
It's quite cold at this moment, especially for springtime, which you would associate with the warmth of the Little Karoo. We have had some snow last night, icy, chilly winds. There's a light dusting of snow on the Swartberg Mountains, and at the moment the pass still remains open as it hasn't snowed low enough for the pass to be closed. All in all, sunshine peeking through the clouds.
The top story at 4 o'clock, the Presidential Climate Commission has called on the government and the private sector to consider the local communities when addressing the just energy transition. For SAFM News, Kimudupi Makhalemele.
And coming up in your sports this hour, FIFA bans Samuel Eto'o and Alcaraz downs Medvedev in straight sets to reach Beijing final. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg is slow moving towards Crown Interchange, and the N12 westbound in Eldorado Park has delays near Golden Highway. In Durban, the M7 is roadworks reported with traffic restrictions towards the Ballet Road, Wexley Road junction, and the N2 northbound has a crash reported near Sibaya Drive, so expect delays. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a crash near Monte Vista Boulevard exit. The N7 checks Hartwell Drive southbound is queuing at Voortrekker Road, and Koeberg Road southbound slow moving towards the N1 Koeberg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Hello, John in for Ashraf. It's the National Pulse. Good to be along with you on, what's today? I want to say it's Tuesday. I feel like it's a Tuesday. It is a Tuesday. There we go. I don't know what days are anymore. We're coming up in a moment. There's a fact-finding mission out in Lusikisiki. The Minister of Police is out there. The Premier of the Eastern Cape, Deputy Minister of Police is out as well. SABC News reporter is following them. Apparently they're not just in a boardroom. They are going out to where the crime scene happened. This is the killing of 18 people in that area. We're going to talk to our news reporter and see what's happening there. Action SA have laid a criminal complaint against Justice Minister Thembi Simelane. That's relating to that loan from VBS Bank for a coffee shop. We're going to talk to Action SA and find out what that criminal complaint is about and what the charges are. There's some good news, not all bad news. There's a good news story about 12 entrepreneurs from South Africa, Malawi and Lesotho presenting their ventures to potential investors. That's good news. Then we will get another take on this JSE, the Judicial Services Commission, that decided by a majority vote to go ahead with their meeting next week without Dr. Klope from the MK party. MK Party, as you heard earlier, asking for a postponement to that, and they're waiting for their lawyers to give them guidance as to what should happen now. But the JSE saying they're going ahead next week. We will talk to a member of the JSE and find out if they do go ahead, if it's constitutional, because there are laws and regulations about how that JSE is made up. Then the Department of Correctional Services has been fingered in the Thabo Bester escape clause. We're hoping to talk to the public protector. They were made public today in a report of convicted murder and rapist escape from the Mangaung Correctional Services back in 2022. And then we've got a great winning feature, landmark study conducted by the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. You'll have to wait till later to find out what that is. So it's a busy show. And of course, your calls and your WhatsApps. You can send us a WhatsApp to 0614 104 107. We'll take your voice notes, but we do like the calls on 086 000 2032.
Hey Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
It's time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 24 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl with tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Okay, let's take a little breath here. Sad, horrific news over the weekend. Minister of Police Senzo Mchunu, the Premier of the Eastern Cape Oscar Mabuyane, the Deputy Minister of Police and the MEC for Safety in the Eastern Cape have engaged families in the community of Lusikisiki in the progress of investigations into that mass shooting which led to the killing of 18 people in that area. SABC News reporter Fundiswa Mhlekude was at the briefing and I think following the dignitaries around. Fundiswa, thank you very much for joining us. What happened at the briefing today?
Thank you very much, John. Well, we have just come out of the briefing, and the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, as well as General Fani Masemola, the Police Commissioner, just confirmed that a person of interest has been taken in for questioning, but they say that he is not arrested, but rather taken in for questioning, and he was rather taken in for questioning after a thorough investigation was done by the police ever since this incident, this gruesome murder of 18 people happened over the weekend. So right now the minister as well as the police commissioner along with their provincial counterparts are at the crime scene after they met the families of the families of the deceased as well as the injured.
There were reports that the police are asking for community members to get involved here, if anybody knows anything.
The community members are keeping mum. They don't even want to speak to us. We are struggling to speak with them. They say they are scared for their lives, but there are people who know people around here who come and tell us what the community members are saying that they believe that this is a family feud and that this has been going on, because you will remember that over the weekend we heard that another family member was gunned down last year, and they were preparing to go and perform a ceremony where this happened, because usually a ceremony is performed after a year since the passing of a person. So they were preparing for that ceremony. Unfortunately, another murder, another shooting took place.
Have you heard from other family members or relatives of those that were murdered?
Not yet. As I said, that they were busy with the minister and the police commissioner. We have not yet found time to speak to them, but since they also came with the police brass to come and comb the crime scene, they are still busy. Maybe after that, they will be able to come and talk to us.
So, as far as I'm understanding from you, Fundiswa, the only real movement forward is this person of interest.
Yes, only this person of interest has been taken in for questioning, and police are still investigating, and they say they hope that some community members, they beg some community members to come forward with more information that may lead to the arrest of those perpetrators.
Yeah, it is worrying that's the only. How long has it been since this incident happened now?
Come again?
How long has it been since this incident happened?
Well, I can tell you, John, that this area of Lusikisiki as well as Flagstaff has been, we have seen a number of mass murders. If I can tell you, I think in 2016 we were called to a village called Lukokweni, where a grandmother, her daughter, and her son, rather granddaughter, were hacked to death using knives, using bush knives as well as axes. We were called to another village at Kwatahle, where three women as well as a teenager were also shot at execution style while they were sleeping. And another village called France, we went there last year, I think, where a young man had his family to death. So this thing of mass murders is very rife here in the Inuza Hill local municipality, which includes Flagstaff as well as Lusikisiki. But sometimes those murders are alleged to have been perpetrated by people who believe that those they hack are actually practicing witchcraft. We don't know what is the case in this village, but we suspect that maybe it's one of those things. But we've been told that this is a family feud. We don't know what caused that feud.
Fundiswa, the Eastern Cape Premier, Oscar Mabiyana, he's had some rough and angry rhetoric before. We want these people dead or alive, he said. I would prefer them to be dead because you get them in jail, they come back and continue. Is he still speaking in that kind of language?
Yes, he even said so. And the minister was also saying so, because he says if they are in jail, they are a burden to the state and to the government. So they are rather on the other side, which means they are rather dead than found alive.
All right, Fundiswa Mplekude, thank you very much. Following that story closely, our SABC News reporter out in Lusikisiki.
Okay. They actually did it. I mean, I've seen it done in other countries, but now they have a whole new local season of the show. Oh, Mzansi, you beautiful, amazing land with diverse families and cultures. Wife Swap South Africa is finally here. Tune in from Monday the 9th of September and see how families from across South Africa swap wives and learn a thing or two or three on how other families operate. There will be disruptions, lessons learned, tears, and smiles in this unique and insightful social experiment. Channel your best entertainment with Wife Swap, Mondays at 6 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3. Africa from Within follows the journey of our anchor presenters who travel to various locations in order to delve into the inner workings and untold stories of the unsung heroes. At its core, Africa from Within is all about grassroots storytelling and the showcasing of the conservation contributions of ordinary people to Africa. It aims to engage and entertain viewers, educate and promote conservation, and inspire viewers to value our natural heritage. Don't miss Africa from Within on SABC2 every Friday at 7 p.m.
At the South African breweries, the beers are brewed with 95% local and natural ingredients. From seed to sip, every step of the process supports a thriving agricultural sector, sustains over 250,000 livelihoods. So next time you enjoy a cold one, remember you're supporting local farmers. South African breweries, brewing more than just beer, brewing a future with more cheers. South Africa, be sharp, not for sale to persons under the age of 18.
Do great solutions start with a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
To the phone lines, 086 000 2032. Let's go to Piwe in KZN. What do you have to say?
Yes, John, how are you?
Liquor, go ahead.
I'm all right. I wanted to get into a bite on what Ntamulo was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, there's a reason why in the legal fraternity they say a matter is sub judice. It means it can't be divulged into whilst the matter is still before court. That's the first one. So when he asks a question to you that what gross misconduct does Dr. Hope done or did in terms of the law. Chapter 17, I think, of the Constitution says judges and magistrates must administer justice to all persons alike without fear, favor, nor prejudice. Now, he says to you, he spoke to his comrades, his colleagues at the time. Now, that is tantamount to influencing the decision whilst the matter was still sub judice. Now, that is a problem. On the other front, I am worried as much as the MKP is worried in terms of the decision not to interdict Judge Hope, because the judgment there says they should be, or the Speaker of National Assembly has a discussion, must have a discussion. I'm wondering what discussion must the Speaker have, because the judge has not spoken about the Electoral Act that has put Dr. Hope in Parliament, where all his rights and duties have accrued. It is the only problem there with the judgment, but we will wait up until the full judge, the full court session sits and then hear. But on what he was posing directly to you, I vehemently disagree. It did violate. Remember, when we say people have a freedom of speech, it's not the same standard that is held when it's judges, lawyers, and so on and so forth. These are sophisticated people in a court of law and must uphold the law at all times. Now, if Dr. Sophia, as a judge president, goes to an extent of calling people about a pending matter where he must police all other judges and magistrates in doing so on pending matters, then he must have committed a gross violation and a misconduct.
It took 15 years of investigations and multiple courts, and it was found that he tried to influence the justices, and that was...
That is not correct. Remember, he is the one who did the Stalingrad tactics.
All right, but, okay. All right, so valid. The point is that it was found that he tried to influence the justices, and he couldn't do that. I agree. Yeah,
I agree with you. 100%.
That's the thing. But the MK representative saying no, he didn't. He was just sort of saying it's in your court, the ball's in your court now, which is it's like I didn't actually bribe the policeman. I just held out a can of Coke.
He's admitting to the crime. He's saying, and even Tamulo says. He spoke to them about who? About the former president. Who was the former president at the time? Is the person who was of interest before court. And if you speak to someone about a matter pending as a judge or as a magistrate, you are committing an offense.
All right, Piwe, thank you very much for pointing that out, knowing his constitution. Mbwana and Mafeking, you also want to talk about the MK party?
Yes, good afternoon.
How's it?
Yeah, you see, there's a confusion here. There's a big confusion and there's a big problem. Because why? How can he still a member of parliament, but then he cannot participate into a certain duties of parliament?
Because,
you see, that is a big...
Because it has to do with judges, specifically judges, so it's a conflict of interest.
But then, how did he qualify in the first place? Because if it was guilty on something else, then he could not qualify. Since he qualified, then he must be able to do any other activities in parliament.
Sorry, say that again. I couldn't hear you.
I said once he qualified to be a member of parliament.
Oh, qualified as an MP.
Yes. So it means he's free to do anything in parliament.
Yeah, but that's the question then, right? Why if he can't be on the JSE, can and he can't fulfill his duties, should he be a member of parliament?
For example, let's say MK, and I nominated him to be a president of MK,
yeah.
And then MK win election. Does he not going to be a president because he was involved into something in the judicial.
Well, that would be up to the constitution of MK, whereas this is up to the constitution of the country.
Yeah, but you see, it's not giving us a good picture here.
No, exactly. That's the point,
giving
right?
us a good picture.
That's the whole point of this thing, is that this is a terrible picture that's being painted.
Yeah, so it needs to be fixed.
Yep, it needs to be fixed. Let's see what comes out of it. Mbowane and Mafeking, thank you very much. We're going to take a quick sting, and then we're going to talk about Action SA. They filed a criminal complaint against the Justice Minister.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
24 minutes past 4 o'clock. Action SA has filed a criminal complaint against the Justice Minister, Thembi Simelane, relating to alleged corrupt involvement with a VBS Mutual Bank loan. It's alleged while serving as the Polokwane Mayor in 2016, the Justice Minister took a loan of over 500,000 rand. Let's try and unpack this with Malebo Kobe, Action SA Member of Parliament. Malebo, thank you very much for joining us. What is the criminal complaint you've laid?
Thank you so much for having me, John. So the criminal complaint that we have laid today is because we believe that it is our contention that she unduly so we believe that she violated the PRECA Act in terms of Section 4, where we believe that she has unduly received gratification as a form of a loan from Gundo Wealth Investments during her tenure as mayor in the local municipality.
All right, hold on. What's the PRECA Act?
So the PRECA Act is the Prevention and Combating Corruption Activities Act.
Oh, okay.
So this is the act where we sort of act as whistleblowers to suspected corrupt activities within government sphere.
Okay, so you're saying that this was a bribe, and because of that, she's breaking the law, and the criminal investigation should be made.
Absolutely, because we believe that she should not be able to, receive a loan from the very broker that facilitated that investment into VBS, which was also unlawful, by the way. So we believe that she was in violation of various subsections of this act.
Okay, so what is the next step now? What's going to happen?
Oh, and we also, laid a charge also of forgery, because we believe that the documents that are making round are supposedly forged, so that to make or legitimize this an arrangement between her and Gundo Wealth Solutions.
Okay, that comes from the reporting. Was it News 24 and Mail and Guardian? I think it is that released the information that document that she says is a legal loan might be a forgery and backdated.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That comes from that report.
What is next?
So what is next is we are waiting to receive a case number, and the matter will be referred to provincial SAPS, who will be launching an investigation into the matter.
What, with the slow movement of the president in this case, is Action SA standing up and asking the president to do something about this?
Look, and this is why we instituted this charge today, because we're absolutely frustrated at the process of waiting for the president. And also, in our frustration, we've also written to the public protector, and we have received absolutely no joy from that.
Okay, so to the police, this investigation could go on for months and months. Are you hoping that something will happen quicker, I imagine?
We're hoping that with enough pressure, one of the bodies would respond, whether it be the presidency or the public protector or the police. We're just hoping to get some sort of solution some way.
What is your thinking? Why do you think it's taking so long?
I think it's politically motivated, obviously. But that's as far as I can speculate. But we are hoping that with our pressure and other political parties, obviously, that are also putting pressure on the president, he will make a determination sooner, much rather than later.
Okay, if you don't mind, and I'm going to ask you the question. It's up to you. We haven't spoken about this before, Malebo, but as a member of Parliament, what we've been talking a lot about on the show today has been the Judicial Service Commission, with MK now asking for that to be postponed. What is your view as Action SA with this whole process?
Look, of course, I've got a very limited purview with that because I'm not serving on that portfolio. But we do see that there is sort of a constitutional blind spot with regards to what we're essentially saying as Action SA is that let's see the fodder from the beginning. Don't let them get in the gates and then start to make a determination as to whether they can serve on this committee or not on that committee. I think it needs to be really reviewed to say from the beginning, let's see who's able to enter the gates of Parliament. Are we doing it are we going to make that determination purely from you being an individual that was brought in by a political party, or do you also have to go through some sort of scrutiny for you to serve in Parliament?
Okay, so that was what that caller was saying a little bit earlier. I don't know if you were hearing that, that the caller was saying, why is he a member of Parliament? If he's a member of Parliament, he should be able to stand on any committee. The question should be, should he be a member of Parliament?
Absolutely,
Right.
because what we don't want to find is that we don't want to find political parties maybe going on a witch hunt, that's the word for it, or making things personal. We want it to be constitutionalized so that we know it applies across the board.
So Malebo can be a member of Parliament, but she can't stand on these committees. She can only stand on these committees. It just becomes dirty and untidy.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
Malebo Kobe, thank you very much. Action SA's Member of Parliament talking about the charges that have been laid against the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Thembi Simelane. We'll see what comes out of that. That was done out in Polokwane Police Station earlier today, and also getting her views on the JSE. You're with SAFM, still coming up in a moment. Some good news. 12 entrepreneurs from South Africa, Malawi and Lesotho have their chances to get onto the world stage, and we'll continue with the JSE story. We're going to speak to an advocate about the latest happenings there. It's 4:30.
Very good afternoon. With the news headlines, one person has been taken in for questioning with regards to the gruesome murder of 18 people at a village in Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. The Public Protector's Office has slammed correctional services for delays in investigating the 2022 escape of Thabo Bester from the Mangaung prison in Bloemfontein. And members of parliament in Kenya have started the process of impeaching the country's corruption-accused deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. Details with Greg in your news at 5.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Edenvale is queuing towards Giluli's interchange. The N1 southbound in Weltevreden Park has a crash reported after the Bears-Naudé Drive exit. The M1 southbound in Boysons has a crash reported after Crown interchange, and the N1 northbound in Pretoria has a crash reported before the N4 Witbank Highway. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Camperdown has a stationary truck just before Mlaws Road exit. The N2 northbound has a stationary vehicle before the M41 Gateway exit. In Cape Town, the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. The M5 southbound is queuing towards the Racecourse Road exit. The N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Kuburg interchange, and the N7 Jakes Harville Drive southbound queuing at Voortrekker Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
To me, I'm watching some tennis. Soccer
Yeah.
against golf. That's a big tennis match, that.
It's a big one. It's an interesting one.
All right, we look forward to that. What's happening?
Well, yeah, we're going to touch on that a bit later. We start things off with football. Big news coming from FIFA. They've banned Cameroon Football Federation President Samuel Eto'o for 6 months over his conduct at a women's Under-20 World Cup match. FIFA did not specify exactly what happened at the round of 16 game against Brazil, where Brazil won 3-1 against his country after extra time. But Eto'o was found guilty for breaching FIFA's rules to offensive behavior and violations of the principles of fair play, as well as misconduct of officials. So now he won't be able to attend men's and women's matches involving Cameroon teams of all categories and age groups for 6 months. Still staying with football, PSL match officials are already under fire in the Betway Premiership, but former referee Victor Tlungwane insists that there's no reason to panic. Kaizer Chiefs fans have been irate over decisions taken by Skhumbuzo Gaza at the weekend following their 2-1 loss to title holders Mamelodi Sundowns. And Tlungwane says, actually, there's no crisis.
Remember, there are processes at SAFA where they review all the games. And when they review all these games, they make recommendations to the technical committee. If the technical committee agrees with the recommendations, that maybe the referee add their consequences. Many a time the technical committee agrees with the decision of the referee, so there's no crisis. So people might say crisis because they have lost. And FIFA fair play, accept defeat with dignity, try and plan better next time. So referees are used as scapegoat. When people lose games, they don't check how many chances they miss. I can't mention names, but I saw players missing many chances. Now they want to look at one mistake by the referee. We, a human being, we do make mistakes. We do accept, but don't use us as scapegoats. When you lose the match, accept defeat with dignity and try and plan better next time.
Well, there you have it, a message to Kaizer Chiefs and the fans as a whole. Moving on to rugby, the Lions are hoping that a boost of returning players from injury will give them the edge in their next Vodacom United Rugby Championship outing against Scottish side Edinburgh on Saturday. The Lions beat Ulster in their opening fixture last weekend, bouncing back from the disappointment of losing the Currie Cup final the previous weekend in a dramatic circumstance, but still had to pull out all the stops without a number of players. Now, fielding 6 debutants, the Lions won 35-22 in an early afternoon fixture and will now face Edinburgh, who had a close loss at Loftus Versfeld in the next game in this weekend. Now, in cricket, India claimed a 7-wicket win over Bangladesh to seal a 2-0 series victory. The win was set up by a record-breaking performance with bat on day 4, and it means that they have now won 18 home test series in a row, extending the record that they already have held. Then on to tennis, as John was saying, Naomi Osaka playing Coco Gauff. She took the first set 6-3, and currently Gauff is leading that second set to love. Meanwhile, 4-time Grand Slam champion Carlos Alcaraz emulated Rafa Nadal in reaching a China Open final as he sent Daniil Medvedev packing 7-5 and 6-3 today. Now, the second seed will face world number 1 defending champion Jannik Sinner or Chinese wildcard Bu Yunchua Kete. I hope I pronounced it right, that one, for the title. Now, the 21-year-old Alcaraz is into his first final in Beijing, something legendary compatriot Nadal did 4 times.
How old is he?
21.
21?
Bruh.
21, bruh. What were we doing at 21? I was having beer and pizza while I was studying.
Sure. And he's now like one of the best in the country.
I just want to talk quickly, and I'm sure you'll touch on this next time around. India women playing South Africa women in a warm-up for the T20 World Cup, right? And cricket, as we know, it's a world event now, right?
Yeah.
For example, the opening batsman, Verma, then you've got a Mahanda, then you've got a Kaur, and later on you've got a Yadav and a Vastrakar. Lovely, right?
Yeah.
The batter in at 3 is Jemima Rodriguez. Jemima Rodriguez for the Indian team.
Yeah.
It's a world game now, I think. Never mind.
What are you trying to say, John?
Jemima Rodriguez. Hey? It's like all the Australian South Africans that play rugby, and the Scottish South Africans, the Irish South Africans.
Yeah.
Why don't we just play South Africa? Why don't we just have a world league of South African rugby players? See what happens. That would be fun. Oh, I just thought of this now. I don't know why we have. So no, we have the Springboks against the best South Africans from all the other leagues, from all the other countries. So there's that, I forget his name, the Scottish wing, and the South Africans that are playing in for the world, wherever.
So the Springboks against the world's best
of South Africans who are playing in other nations. Right?
That'd be interesting.
Springboks win, obviously, but it would be fun to watch.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, okay, I'm done.
Right, I'll have more in the next hour.
Masanda Wane ladies want to rubber stamp their authority with maximum points to stay on the summit. The Copper Belt ladies want to fight with all they have to move away from the bottom half. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness the Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. Mamelodi Sundowns Ladies FC versus Copperbelt Ladies FC on Saturday, 5 October at 11 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available everywhere for everyone, always on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Movango returns for an explosive new season on SABC2.
A renaissance of new beginnings, intrigue, and drama with old enemies and new characters. Catch the rebirth season of Mubango every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. on SABC2 or stream it on SABC Plus. Mubango, ukovela panda. SABC2.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Just about 20 to 5, Makwe Masalela has the latest in the markets. Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe, Capitec getting some numbers out today.
Definitely an afternoon to you and to the listeners. Their profits as headline earnings per share up 36%, just like their interim dividends. And the credit loss ratio improved by 20% to 7.6%. And their return on equity up from 24% to 29%. And that was due to the muted loan disbursement and value-added services income increasing by 73%. And the political stability, including positive sentiment about GNU, normalized inflation and reduced interest rates, promote economic confidence and set the scene for future growth, and their interest income is up 17%.
And what's been happening in the markets today?
You know, the US dollar managed to gain against the major peers after US Fed chair pushed back overnight against the bets on more supersized interest rate cuts, and market participants remain certain that the Fed will cut again at their next policy meeting in November, but slashed expectations for a 50 basis point reduction, and markets were also bracing for any effect after Israel said it had begun targeted ground raids in Lebanon, and apparently Iran is preparing to directly attack Israel. In the near-term market narrative, John, has shifted from questions about a slowing U.S. economy to the size and velocity of the Fed rate cuts for the rest of this year. And crude oil spiked, on fears Iran is preparing to directly attack Israel. It's up 3% at $74 a barrel. And at the back of that escalating geopolitics, yellow metal lifted by safe haven demand. Also, lower bond yields are helping, and we see gold is up 0.9% at 2,658, platinum up 2% at 990, and global markets are at the mercy of the escalating Middle East tensions, with the JSE giving back all of its earlier gains and is now down 0.1%, and the rand has weakened, is now 17.38 against the US dollar, 23.14 against the pound, and 19.26 against the euro.
Thank you very much. Makwe Masalela, Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. More business in an hour's time.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
I think I'm in trouble. Hassan Lorgat has phoned up. Yeah, that Hassan Lorgat. Has he phoned up? Which one? This line one. Hassan, what did I do?
Hey, no, there are 2 points. One,
2 points?
Yeah. Let me raise a small one. Jemima Rodriguez.
Yes.
That name, when I visited there, I also had to check the Portuguese influence, some of the foods in Goa and others. I think that this crook, what's his name, Vasco da Gama, he was there as well,
That's also true.
From very, very early. And then I think in 1961 or the 60s, India just moved in and took over the colony, the Goa and those kind of places. So those names are there, and you can check the influences. Some of those are comrades of ours.
Her full
but
name?
Jemima, I just checked out. I'm not clever. I just checked out. She went to the St. Joseph Convent High School, so presumably she's Christian, stuff like that. There's a large Christian community, of course.
Jemima Ivan Rodriguez is her full name.
Yeah. Oh. Jessica Rodriguez.
Okay, I got
Jemima
Jessica Rodriguez. All right, fascinating. Yeah, I'm going to have to do some research about the West India there. What else did I do wrong?
Yeah, no, nothing you did wrong. I must just say, I love the singer called Fayrouz. She's really the soul of Lebanon. And this morning I woke up to say, I wonder if she's safe, what's happened to her. She's a beautiful Christian Lebanese singer. She grew up with, learned Islamic kind of rhythms, if you like, and the way people pray in Islam. And so she's really the queen of that music. And she plays a jazz version, various of them. And my thought just went out, where is she today and what's happened to her and the people. My concern is when people are so careless about the death of other people, and then if this happens in France or elsewhere, then we got to forced to sympathize. I expect a lot more outrage in our country and elsewhere. Really, it's sad.
Yeah, you see, it depends. We live in this bubble. Hassan, thank you very much for calling. And yeah, thoughts to everybody. When you see a 2,000 bomb, 2,000-pound bomb, think about it, 2,000 pounds of explosives in a neighborhood, and you're targeting one person, and that's what you get told. Oh, we targeted them, we killed the one guy, the one leader. It's like 2,000 pounds of explosions. You didn't just kill one person. You killed many, many, many people. And you see the devastation. And as Hassan was saying, we live in this news bubble sometimes, don't we? And you're on Facebook and it's your family, or you're on Twitter and you've blocked off people that you disliked. So sometimes you don't see it, but there is outrage. We should be out in the streets though, I feel. We should be out in the streets more. John in Soweto, you want to talk about this restaurant blitz about illegal workers in South Africa? Go ahead.
Yeah, how's it, Ben?
Lekker.
Yeah, good. I just wanted to say you see these companies that are hiring illegal foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the owners should be imprisoned, not to be fined, because they know that whatever that they're doing is wrong. But they are doing it. Because at the moment, I'm a driver myself, but they are not hiring us anymore. They hire these people from Zimbabwe, Malawi, and stuff like that. And I actually went to an interview, I think, a month ago at some company. I don't want to mention it. And even when I get there, I was shocked. You could see that there's no South African here. And I knew after I left there that they're not going to take me, these people.
John, are you okay with hiring legal foreigners? In other words, if somebody has immigrated here, they've got all the documents, they can get the job?
I have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. As long as, like driving, for instance. Driving is not a scarce skill in South Africa.
So they shouldn't be given the opportunity because there are South Africans that can get it first.
Yes, because right now I'm at the location right now.
Mm-hmm.
I just went to the shop right now. There's a lot of people here in the street. It's like it's weekend, the way the people are not working. And it's sad. Very, very sad.
Okay, so you want... you went there because I was debating this earlier during the updated noon. We were talking about how owners, so they're exploiting people first of all because they know they don't have to pay all the legal things, the UIF, if somebody is illegally in the country. So that should be the punishment for. It's almost like human trafficking almost.
Yes, they should be imprisoned, not
just fined.
Fined, because I was listening to. This on Sakina's show.
Yes.
I forgot the lady. I think the person who was talking there, I think he said they are being fined 2.5 or something.
Yes. Instead of going to jail.
2.5 is nothing. It's nothing. They should be imprisoned. I think they should impose imprisonment for them 5 years or something, because whatever that they're doing, they know that wrong, and unemployment is too high in South Africa.
All right, John, and good luck to you as well with your driving and your career opportunities and your job hunting. Let's go to David in Uppington. How's it?
I'm okay, sir. How are you?
Lekker, go ahead.
All right. Look, I wanted to comment on this issue of the topic issue of the impeachment. Look, my take on it, because I think the problem with us South Africans is that I think the Constitution needs to be sort of, we need to actually have a dialogue in terms of, because there are a lot of gray areas in the Constitution. And I'm of the view that that there's no profession where people don't consult or advise one another or seek for advice in whatever job they are doing. And then it brings me back to the issue that if someone can say, for example, let me put it in Kloppe's situation. Guys, I've done my part. It's in your hands. What is so illegal about that? If someone can explain that to me, it's fine. I don't have a problem.
Well, let me explain. So, there were investigations into it, and according to the investigations, not according to MK, because what you're saying is what MK is saying, that it was just like, all right, guys, it's in your courts. But according to the reports and the investigations, he attempted to sway their judgment in Zuma's favor, and that's the problem.
Okay, Angela, let me take that, because again, that one when it was communicated to us as the general public, it's like the general public, it's a hearsay and it's a perception of which we don't have really the transcripts of what actually really took place and what were the exact words and what everything. Let me take you back to one article that I read about Justice Mpati, where he spoke at length about the issue of the judiciary, and he spoke about the issue of big business, and especially was referring directly to the banks, who wants to, whenever it's the banks versus Sekunjalo, as well as premium, in that thing, where he actually got into the issue of where people abuse power, where people manipulate power, and where people actually sort of make society to believe that what they are doing is the right thing and what the other party is doing is the wrong thing.
Okay. So do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, that there's big business can use their influence? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, it's not. It's not good.
It's not good. So then why can we then apologize for Klope?
No, I'm not apologizing for that. I don't think you should not misunderstand me. What I'm trying to say here, and I'm saying that I think I'm actually going to the point, even to the point where I want to agree with former President Thabo Mbeki, is that South Africa needs dialogue, because South Africa needs dialogue on issues that I think currently there are a lot of issues that I think the country is stuck on, and I think some of these issues are actually a ticking time bomb in the future of this country. Because some of people, we are having this tendency to want to rush over things because it suits us.
Okay, I understand.
For now.
Right, so you brought up the bank to say it was just brushed aside, whereas this has become a big thing. All right. We've got to leave it there.
Okay.
All right. I think you made your point, David. We could debate this forever, but we do have to move on to other issues. It's 9 minutes to 5.
With misinformation and disinformation around us all the time, where can we turn to for news and information that is not fake? Radio, of course, your number one trusted source of reliable and truthful news and information. For over 3 decades, we have been a signatory to the BCCSA Broadcasting Code of Conduct, and we pride ourselves as a trusted source of information. Say no to false news and disinformation that circulates online. Radio, keeping it real and fighting fake since day one. A message from the National Association of Broadcasters.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
We got the entrepreneurs. We're going to talk entrepreneurs. Not quite yet. So let's take a voice note on 0614 104 107.
Afternoon, John. Mr. Shongwane, the referee, talking about there's no crisis. They've been saying that for the last 5 years with Sundowns winning the league under controversial circumstances. There will forever be no crisis when it's Sundowns. In any case, what do you expect a former referee to say about referees? It's like interviewing a police, expecting a police to criticize other policemen. The fact that you are interviewing a referee, it's already a bias interview anyway. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's move on. 12 entrepreneurs from South Africa, Malawi and Lesotho have had the opportunity to present their creative industry ventures to potential investors during the Creation Africa Days event held at the French residence last month. Amongst those entrepreneurs, Pretoria-based designer Glorina Kutso Mabaso of Renaissance Design, who blends modern living with ancient African-inspired patterns. It sounds beautiful. Glorina Kutso Mabaso joins us now. And congratulations to you, Glorina. What was it like, first of all, showing your designs to an international audience?
Hi there. Thank you for having me. It was absolutely nerve-wracking. But also, I felt like it was about time. I've been working towards getting to this point. And I mean, with the Creation Africa program, I think it came at the right time when I now want to scale up. And I feel like the program was able to really immerse me into the actual day-to-day runnings of my business. And I started understanding, okay, what's the next step? And I loved that. We had one-on-one sessions with mentors so they could delve into each business separately, besides our group sessions that we had and master classes with some really hectically successful people. So that was really great.
Just take us back a bit. 700 applicants. You were one of the 12 finalists. What was that process like?
Jeez, also nerve-wracking. Oh my gosh. Listen, we started in January. And I remember we applied in January, then they had to choose about 70 from 70, then only the 40 that went through an incubation program. And then from the 40, we had to pitch again to a panel. So every single time we had to pitch to a panel of people professionals in the CCI sector, the ambassador, and a number of other people. And then they got to choose the final 12. So that was really hectically nerve-wracking because I kept asking myself, oh my gosh, how am I going to beat all of these people just to make it to the top 12? And again, it's not just, I'm an interior designer, but I've now moved a little bit more into textiles, which is what I specialize in. But the program was open to a number of other disciplines. So you had, in our cohort, we had gamers and animators, fashion designers. And so it was the first time I interacted with so many other people from different disciplines, but then we're in the same sector. But everything that we are taught applies to everybody. So that I found very interesting as well.
Yeah, you can be as good a designer as you want, but the business acumen as well is so important. Are they helping you with that?
100%. So we had about 2-hour sessions each week. And with the final 12, we actually had with the top 40, we had a month. With the final 12, we had about 5 months of incubation. And then you'd have your one-on-ones with your mentors, 2 hours per week. I think they really pushed the part of business, which is something that lacks a lot in the CCI sector. And I think I was just saying last week to IFAS, the Institute of France in South Africa, as well as the ambassador, that I think the biggest issue is that we don't really have that kind of structure on a tertiary level, where if you're studying design or architecture or fashion, you also have a module that you are taking in business. It's everybody's getting trained.
And in marketing.
100%. And in marketing.
You can design till you're blue in the face, but nobody knows you exist. What's the point? So marketing and business.
Listen, branding, marketing, finance as well.
Glorina, let's talk about you. And the whole point of this is South Africa's cultural industries, right? So what do you bring to the table?
Everything about ancient Africa. So I call myself the mouthpiece to the ancient world because I'm here to reawaken all the cultural knowledge or heritage that used to exist. And this was literally prompted by the fact that, like I said, I studied interior design, but I was never exposed to anything really about ancient Africa until I started watching documentaries. And I remember even in art history, I'd never heard of ancient African architecture in my life until I watched these documentaries, and I'm like, wow. So there were buildings and palaces and oh my goodness, So I was like, how can I use the skill that I have, which is design, to sort of preserve heritage, whether it's architecture that I'm speaking about, or how they used to speak language, or how they used to dress, or what they used to eat, the music they listened to. I then decided, okay, I'm going to use coded symbols and create patterns from that. And through these patterns, I can then apply them to textiles, to wallpaper, to acoustic panels. And I also offer like custom services for fashion design brands, where they can give me a brief and I create a custom pattern that they then use to represent their brand and create collections.
Okay, now you're off to the world. I have a feeling that this is perfect for the world. It's almost as if I'm just thinking everywhere is like loving these. The darkest Africa is coming up, but it's the world. The world is loving it. They come here to see Africa, but then they go home to their boring Spanish villas.
No, I think it is definitely something is happening in the air, just universally, about Africa. And I think for me, because it's not just work, it's literally a passion. I always say preservation is my purpose, because that's literally what it is. And I go as far as, starting my process with research. And where I can, besides watching documentaries and reading books, where I can, especially the tribes in South Africa, I'd make sure that I start establishing, like I've already started though, establish relationships with monarchs, because then they have those elders that have all of this ancient and, information that has not even been tampered with. So I love sitting down with them and hearing, all these hidden messages, all these hidden knowledge, and that's where I come in and say, okay, how else can we preserve this? But using it in a modern context, and making it in such a way that, which is another thing that I'll be moving into the next step of my business, where I want to create more cohesive collections where, my patterns can live on products that people can relate to on a daily basis, at home, in hotels, and so forth.
Lorena, great chatting to you. Good luck. You're off to Paris in October. We'll catch up with you afterwards and we'll see how you did, all right?
Thank you.
Look forward to it. Lorena Kutso-Mabaso, founder of Renaissance Design, one of 12 finalists that are coming not just from South Africa but also from Malawi and Lesotho as well. They're off to Paris to showcase their wares. You're with SAFM. It's just gone 5 o'clock. Greg Host has your news.
Thank you, John. Good to be with you again. In this news update, person taken in for questioning over Lusikisiki attacks, and Kenya's deputy president faces impeachment. Good day to you. One person's been taken in for questioning with regards to the gruesome murder of 18 people at Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. This is revealed by the Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, and the National Police Commissioner, Fanny Masemola, while addressing the media this afternoon. The two, together with their provincial counterparts, visited the families of the deceased and wounded. They also visited the crime scene. Over the weekend, 18 people were gunned down in their sleep. The Office of the Public Protector slammed the Department of Correctional Services for delays in investigating the 2022 prison escape of Thabo Bester from the Mangaung Correctional Centre in Bloemfontein. The report by the Public Protector says the department did not do an admirable job following a fire that occurred in Bester's prison cell. It also reveals that it took almost 6 months for the department to report the case as one of escape. This despite being informed about the escape by the police in June 2022. It's alleged that employees of the G4S-run correctional facility assisted Bester to escape after he faked his suicide. The Presidential Climate Commission has called on government and the private sector to consider local communities when addressing the just energy transition. The transition involves a move from coal, oil and gas to cleaner forms of energy like solar and wind. The Commission's Crispian Olver took part in panel discussions at the Standard Bank Climate Summit in Johannesburg.
Our concern is around the social and the economic impact of this transition. So how do we make sure that workers and communities are not the ones that are bearing all the costs and taking all the risks? And also, how do we ensure that opportunities are fairly shared? So, can we make sure that in this transition we create more jobs than we lose? And can we make sure that those are decent jobs, they're in the right place, and that workers and communities are supported to transition from one sector to the other?
The PAC's confirmed the death of its member, Mbulelo Fihla. He died in a military hospital in Pretoria after being admitted following a short illness. He was an ex officio member of the party's National Executive Committee. He served as Treasurer General of the SA National Military Veterans Association. PAC leader Masonyele Nyons.
On behalf of the PAC, I send condolences to the Fihla family, to the former APLA forces, to the military, veterans community, and to public about this valiant son of Africa. The PAC and the Fihla family will make further announcements as we mourn his passing.
MPs in Kenya have started the process of impeaching the country's deputy president accused of corruption, playing a role in violent protests and undermining the government. He's denied any wrongdoing. The BBC's Anne Soy has more.
This is the culmination of a major fallout between Kenya's president and his deputy. The impeachment is expected to sail through both houses of parliament easily after the main opposition joined forces with President Ruto's party following recent protests. Police have accused MPs allied to the deputy president of financing and mobilizing gangs to loot and cause mayhem during the anti-tax hikes protests in June. Rigathi Gachagua has, however, defended them and claimed the charges are meant to malign his name and accuse his supporters of attempting to overthrow government.
Top story this hour is that one person's been taken in for questioning with regards to the gruesome murder of 18 people at Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape over the weekend. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Gills.
In sports, Proteas women gear up for World Cup opener with a final warm-up match against India and FIFA banned Samuel Eto'o. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 southbound in Edenville has a stationary vehicle before Giluli's interchange causing heavy traffic. The N1 southbound in Waltervreden Park has a stationary vehicle after Beyersno Deer Drive exit, and the N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a crash reported before the M13 Paradise Valley interchange, and the N3 westbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, some advanced warning for you this coming weekend. The Navy Festival returns to Simonstown from Friday until Sunday. Motorists can expect heavy traffic delays in the area. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is queuing towards Hospital Bend. The M3 inbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend, and the N1 outbound slow moving towards the M5 Kuburg interchange. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
It's 6 minutes past 5. We were looking forward to this, but there's a conflict of diaries and times and all those kind of things. And hopefully we'll catch up with it tomorrow. This is the Public Protector's report into Thabo Besta's escape. It's alleged, it comes from Elias Muller, who filed a complaint to the Public Protector last year. According to his observations and based on several media reports, the DCS, the Department of Correctional Services, might have acted in breach of its legal obligation. The DCS didn't do an admirable job, and the Public Protector in her findings found that while the department was told of Besta's escape by police in June of 22, and the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services the next month, it took no less than 6 months for it to open an escape case. It took the DCS approximately 55 calendar days post its investigation report dated November 8 to report the matter to the police in January of 23. So there have been some strong findings from the Public Protector, but unfortunately, due to timing issues and other engagements, we won't be able to do that. Hopefully we'll be able to do that tomorrow, or it can be done tomorrow by Tulas in the morning. We will be talking a little bit more about the Judicial Service Commission. This is our thread that we've been focusing on for most of the day. This is going to go ahead in October, according to the JSC. They made that decision by majority vote, they say. They'll do it without Dr. Jon Gericke, who has been interdicted as an interim basis from participating. We'll talk about that and plenty more coming up.
Need a loan? Pay for what you need when you need it with a personal loan from Nedbank. And if you open a MyGoals Plus or MyGoals Premium account, you can enjoy 200 Rand cashback every month for the duration of your loan. That's 200 Rand every month to buy extra groceries or save for a rainy day. Visit nedbank.co.za and join the bank that's best for your loans. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Back-to-back champions, the Buccaneers are only interested in lifting up their third consecutive title. Meanwhile, Maroon and Gold, Stellies, want to ensure that black and white fans go to bed early. This is the MTN 8 final. Wafa Wafa! Catch the reigning champs, Orlando Pirates, up against Stellenbosch FC on Saturday, 5 October at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game. You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Okay, we've been talking about this throughout the show. Let's get a little bit more on it. The Judicial Service Commission's resolved to go ahead with that October sitting without Dr. Jon Gericke of the MK party. He's been indicted on an interim basis from participating. It comes after the JSC had an urgent virtual meeting yesterday to discuss the MK party's request for a postponement. You heard MK party's views earlier on in the program. Let's talk to Advocate Sesi Beloy, a member of the JSC, and one of the four persons designated by the President. Advocate, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us how you came to the decision to go ahead with the sitting next week.
The decision to proceed with the interviews next week is based on the reasons that were advanced by the MK party for the postponement, and it is primarily two reasons that they relied on. The one is that the interdict means that the JSC is not properly constituted if Dr. Gericke is not allowed to participate. Right now, the view of the JSC and the agreement majority was that the JSC remains properly constituted because he remains a member of the JSC. He hasn't been removed as a member of the JSC. That's a fight that the parties who were before the High Court will have in what is referred to as Part B to that application, which is the review application. But as matters stand, he remains a member of the JSC. What the court has done is simply to say that he cannot participate until they have resolved the Part B. So we are properly constituted, and on that basis, the first reason or ground for a postponement that they relied on, we agreed doesn't hold.
Okay. Explain that to me if you can, Advocate. How can you be a member but not participate? Surely then you're not there.
Well, I think the best way to answer your question is with this illustration, that in the normal course of the JSC business, conducting its business, you have from time to time a member unable to attend for whatever reason. Okay, so you find people, it is impossible for them to attend either because of other commitments or someone is not well. That doesn't affect the constitution of or that doesn't affect, in fact, that the JSC remains properly constituted even though a member is unable to be there. What has happened in this case is his participation is, Dr. Gericke's participation is made impossible by the interdict, which says, the judgment itself does say that he remains a member of the JSC because the National Assembly has designated him. They are not removing him. All they are saying is he will have to miss meetings of the JSC until the Part B has been resolved or the National Assembly has decided how to deal with the issue of his absence.
Why not just postpone it? so that you don't have these legal ramifications. So let's wait for all of these applications and the judges and the courts to settle their differences, and then you said then we'll begin.
Well, I can tell you this, that in the discussion we had, we looked strictly at the validity of the reasons that they have given for the request for a postponement. In fact, I hadn't completed yet my answer. Then the second reason that they relied on was that they have now lodged an application for leave to appeal that order in the Western Cape, right, of the Western Cape. And so that the order that interdicts him is suspended as a result. We considered that, and we don't agree that it is suspended. Of course, this is a matter that should the JC end up in court with him would have to be fully argued. But those are the two bases on which the postponement was refused. Now, coming back to your question, why not postpone? I must first put this qualifier, that the JSC did not have that kind of discussion last night. So whatever answer I'm giving you is in direct response to your question, not so much that it was part of the deliberations. And again, maybe let me answer it this way. The Part B application, there's no determining how long it will take when it gets decided. Now, in these upcoming interviews, we're scheduled to interview 54 candidates, right, who have already been told to be there. And this is for, I think, about 7 divisions, including the Supreme Court of Appeal, the Land Court, the Labour Appeal Court, and Land Labour Court, and then numerous divisions of the High Court. So if we were to decide not to meet, had we decided not to meet, for example, what it would mean is that for an undefined, indeterminable period, we could never conduct interviews until the full judicial process, which is a fight about that arises from this interdict, has been decided. And of course, when you speak about the until final determination, you're really speaking until even the Constitutional Court has decided the issue. Yeah. So my response to you is, look, there are these practical consequences on the courts.
Business has to be done, and you don't have time to wait.
Unfortunately, until we are told by a court to stop.
Okay, let's talk about.
Let us stand now. We are not.
Let's talk about the courts. MK, when I spoke to them earlier on, is saying that the courts are overstepping their bounds here, that this was an elected official that was elected to stand on the JSC. He's going back even to the beginning parts of this, that he's been elected to be there, has every right to be there, and the courts are overstepping their mark. As an advocate, what's your view on that?
Well, I speak to you as a JSC spokesperson presently.
Okay.
We are not a party to the litigation presently, and so it truly would be inappropriate for me to even attempt to express a view.
Let me ask you straight. Do you think there's political interference in the JSE?
In the JSE? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
They're saying that this is political interference to try and influence the way that the GSC is making their decisions.
I suspect they are not saying that about the JSC itself, because we haven't gotten to a point where we expressed our position about the merits of the fight that was before the Western Cape High Court.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't presume that any comments about political interference are accusing the JSC of anything. If that's not your question, if the question is people outside of the JSC may be interfering with the workings of the JSC for the reasons that you state, I cannot comment about that. I have no knowledge of that.
You have no knowledge of that?
I don't know who's considering what, when they brought this application.
Okay, so as far as everything is concerned, when are you starting? On Monday, you're starting with the interviews. Dr. Hlophe is a member. He just can't participate, and you will go ahead and face any ramifications of that later on once everything has been decided.
As matters stand, John, there's no order of court that says we can't proceed. In fact, The order of the High Court, properly read, suggests that we can proceed to with these interviews. So yes, as matters stand, we intend to proceed with the interviews on Monday.
Advocate, just help me out with the legalities of things. I asked MK Party why they don't just put another member of parliament into the JSE. I think they said that he was elected and he was elected to go in there. Would that solve this whole problem if MK said, okay, we don't want Jon Gericke, Dr. Gericke there anymore, we're putting this member of parliament up?
Look, the decision of who designates members of parliament lies with the National Assembly. So one would expect that the National Assembly will have taken account of this judgment, or if they haven't as yet, they will do so, look into it and see what they want to do, whether they want to assist with Dr. Gericke still under interdict, whether they want to challenge the order of the court as it stands now, or they want to appoint somebody else. It really falls squarely within the remit of the National Assembly what it chooses to do.
Advocate Ceci Beloy, thank you very much for explaining all of that to us. Dr. Advocate Ceci Beloy is a member of the JSE.
Win your share of 50,000 Rand when you play Winning at Live with One Life. Don't forget to enter on our website, safm.co.za. Stay tuned to the morning brief on SAFM. Keep your phone on loud and we might be the one to change your life. One Life is a licensed life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online. One Life, changing lives.
For 18 years, Kumbulekhaya has been fostering healing through forgiveness and reconciliation.
Are you asking me that?
Yes.
I grew up without a mom.
So what happened to your family?
What family? You are my family. What happened to you?
Witness as families forgive one another and reunite after a long time. Catch the new season of Kumbulekhaya on SABC1 every Wednesday at 9 p.m.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
5:20. I've been remiss in playing, so we're changing the camera. If you're watching us on YouTube, where are we? YouTube and on Twitter. I think we're on Twitter as well. If you're watching us live, how's it? Hello. If you're not watching us live, it's just as well because face for radio. That's why I'm on radio, not on TV. Although now I'm on TV. I've been remiss on playing voice notes, so let's play some of those on 0614 104 107.
John, this time from Bloemfontein, don't entertain what the spokesperson of MK is saying. Look at the facts. The misconduct was that Dr. Gericke wanted to influence the case that was against Jacob Zuma. And check now, John, who is the deputy president of MK? And who's the president, who's the deputy president? You have your answer. By connecting the dots, you'll have your answer.
Good afternoon, John. John, if justice is not in favor of MK, it's not justice. If justice is not in favor of the MK president, it's not justice. It's undemocratic. It's undemocratic for JSC to sit without judging former Judge Gericke. But is it democratic to hold the whole nation at ransom because Mr. Gericke is not sitting with the JSC? I really don't understand. It boggles my mind. Anonymous.
Good afternoon, John. I think MK Party should have avoided this drama of Dr. Jon Gericke by appointing Papa Penny instead of him. As we all know that Papa Penny is an eloquent speaker of note, we would enjoy robust and enlightening debates in the JSC. Thank you very much, Peter Baila Machaba from Letswata.
Jon Gericke, how are you, my man?
You are talking to Dabishi from Soweto here. There's no way that we can have someone who was found to be in a wrong side of the law to be part of the JSC. Never, never, never. We must never allow that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mataboge. I think MK Party is trying hard to rule the country from a distance. And if the courts and the parliamentarians are not going to realize that, when things start happening their way, we'll be finding ourselves in a big trouble, and we won't be having any control over South Africans, because they're going to set a precedent that is going to be followed by the rest of the population of this country, based on the fact that we were unable to control MK Party. Thank you.
Some of your voice notes. We'll play a couple more in a bit. Let's go to the phone lines first. 086 000 2032. Say it again. 086 000 2032. Let's go to Temba in Klebecha. Hello, Temba.
Hi, John. Hi. Good afternoon to you and the colleagues in the station.
Thank you.
John, there's this Minister Nkadimeng Simelane. I wish, and I so wish, she has not been advised to distribute or put into public what she purports to be a contract between herself and the financial lender. It would have been, she would have been better advised to allow, if the matter will ultimately go to court, such a document be the evidence in the court and be perused, scrutinized inside the court instead of the public. One, for her to have allowed it to be publicized. You know, John, financial institutions are under legal obligation in the country. At first, companies must declare their financial records of the year. And in there, the accountants must sign off any loan or any financial activity in the preceding year.
Mm-hmm.
If that individual who is designated as an accountant of that company did not sign off and did not know about that loan, what is purported to be the loan, and that did not find itself into the financial report of the company, Simelane had an escape point to say it's a loan that I got from a person, this individual, because now that she is purporting it to be a contract, formal contract on the table, that accountant and the financial records of that company must also prove and concur with that. And unfortunately, if it was not done above board, you will not find it in those documents that are filed somewhere else out of their control today.
Yeah.
So they are dipping themselves deeper into the hole.
Yeah, and it's because of that this reported contract that they have found issues. They found tense issues. They found dates issues. They found, at least the media has. And if she had put it out, or had been advised to put it out, not wise at all. 26 minutes past 5. We're going to go to the next caller. Who are we going to? Buzwe is in Umtata. Hello.
Yes, good day, John. How are you, man?
Lekker, referees. What's happening?
Yes, man. Hey, I'm just listening to Ngwini, like a referee.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think a referee should be addressing fans, more especially in that fashion. This is a very sensitive matter, and I think this referee, referees in general should be, since they are the employees of PSL or SAFA.
Look, he makes a point that the losing team is always unhappy. It just happens to be Chiefs this time, but the losing team is always unhappy with the referee.
Yeah, with sheer arrogance, I don't think that is right, John.
You don't think so?
I just do not think. Because, it's another thing where, we the team is losing because of we missed chances and all those things.
Yeah.
But, now, a poor officiating, that, John, is another thing. And for him to respond in that fashion, Chief, I don't think that is right.
You see, do you follow Twitter, rugby Twitter? If you follow, you got to follow rugby Twitter. I dare you, because your team loses by 1 point, and that referee is ridiculed for months.
I still believe that the referees should not be addressed.
So referees shouldn't comment at all.
But the referees are the employees of PSL. I think they are accountable to PSL, but they should not be, more especially in that phase. He's arrogant, and that arrogance is a problem.
I think we've got to find that soundbite again. It must be there somewhere. We'll be able to find it. Michael in Durban, go ahead.
How are you, John?
Lekker.
Thank you. Nice show. Huh?
Thank you.
Yeah, but I wanted to make 2 comments regarding the Mr. John Gericke's matter.
Okay.
Number one, I think the man has already lost a lot already. By virtue that you are no longer the president of the Western Cape High Court, it's a big loss. This thing of being a member of parliament is just far lesser than the position he was holding before. So already he has suffered a big blow, plus they will tamper with his pension again. He's lost a lot already. For me, I just see John Gericke as a man that is down. I think the only thing that was made wrong, it was at least for the MK to appoint him or recommend him to be the part of JSE. He was good just being a member and advice behind the scene. Now, not to be part of the JSE, just so that he can continue and receive those benefits of being a member of parliament. That's fine for me, because he has to try to mend up his life. But now, getting appointed to JSE, the very same committee that finds him wrong, I don't know what to define that. That's the only mistake being made by the MK in parliament. Keep him behind the scene, let him sit down there. He's a member of parliament, life goes on.
Yeah, but that's the big issue, right? Is you can hide away, or you don't necessarily want to hide away. But if it's not against the law or against the Constitution, then go ahead and do it. Why not? That's the problem, and that's what's been raised. There's these grey areas in the Constitution that are not allowing it. I mean, we were just talking about...
because it's been allowed to be a member of parliament.
We were talking... No, you see, but why not? You earn more money if you're on a committee. And MK's job is to stir the pot. You know that's what they're doing. And if the Constitution allows it, let's stir the pot.
But now those people who are fighting against you, now you're going to preside over them.
You know, look, I'm not. What you're saying makes 100% sense, but from an MK point of view, it also makes 100% sense. So let's.
For me, I was just going to keep him in the bench,
and just hide him away and go earn your pension and vote every now and again when you want to. Look, I hear you.
Just keep the ball rolling, and then till he retires, he's old, man. He's old. Not that young, he's old.
Yeah, and he's looking for... All right, Michael, thank you very much. But that's not what an opposition does. An opposition, when the DA just sat quietly and didn't do anything when they were opposition, we moaned. Why doesn't the DA do something? Here, the MK is doing something. They're saying, this is what we stand for. He was elected, and he's in the committee. And according to the advocate, he is in the committee. He just can't take part. It's 29 minutes to 6 o'clock. Greg Coase has your headlines.
Thanks again, John. A quick look at the headlines. 23 buses belonging to the Bujanala Bus Company in Rustenburg in the northwest have been set alight. One person's been taken in for questioning with regards to the murder of 18 people at Lusikisiki in the Eastern Cape. And the Israeli Prime Minister has urged Israelis to heed the safety instructions of the Home Front Command, as a White House official has warned that an Iranian ballistic missile attack on Israel could be imminent. A full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in Boysens has a crash reported after Crown Interchange. The N1 northbound in Midrand is slow moving towards Samrand Road. In KZN, the N2 southbound queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. The N3 has a stationary vehicle on the link to the N2 south at Spaghetti Junction. The R102 is queuing near the M25 Commercial Highway, and Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N7 checks Havel Drive southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway. The N1 outbound has a vehicle fire incident reported just before Yiptiaga Avenue, and Old Paul Road in Brackenfell has a crash reported between Paradise and Windmill. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Tumi?
Yes.
Kaizer Chief fans not happy, hey?
I heard.
But if somebody's just tuned in now, tell me what you did.
So I played a clip from Victor Hlongwane, and he's basically saying there's no crisis when it comes to officiating in the country.
All right, let's hear what he had to say.
Remember, there are processes at SAFA where they review all the games. And when they review all these games, they make recommendations to the technical committee. If the technical committee agrees with the recommendations that maybe the referee add their consequences. Many a time, the technical committee agrees with the decision of the referee, so there's no crisis. So people might say crisis because they've lost. And FIFA fair play, accept defeat with dignity, try and plan better next time.
That's what people are unhappy about.
Yeah. He says referees are used as scapegoats.
See, the caller wasn't happy, saying that that's wrong. They mustn't. Somebody like he shouldn't come out and speak at all. Just let people be the judge. I don't know. I like to hear from a referee. I want to hear the decision making.
I mean, I guess they speak to him because he's a former ref and he had to also just analyze was that an offside or not. And I'm assuming from his knowledge back then, and I understand what the listener was also saying, that he's a referee. Obviously, he has to be on the side of the ref side. But what about the knowledge that he has as a referee and just looking and analyzing what happened on Saturday? So I guess there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah, and we played both of them. All right. What else is happening today?
Well, listen, the Proteas women are in action now in a World Cup warm-up against India, and this is the final opportunity for them to fine-tune their skills ahead of their ICC T20 World Cup opener against the West Indies in Dubai on Friday. South Africa won the toss, chose to bowl first. So India currently, I think the last time I checked, they were sitting on 139 for 7 in 19 overs, right? Yeah. And definitely looking forward to the World Cup kicking off and the Proteas women doing well there. In football, Orlando Pirates coach Jose Rivero has admitted that Stellenbosch FC has proven to be a tough nut to crack for them. The two sides meet in the Wafa Wafa final at Moses Mabhida Stadium on Saturday evening, and Rivero says that they're very wary of their opponents.
We have to accept Stellenbosch the way they are. We respect them big time. We faced Stellenbosch 4 times last season in the MTN 8 semi-finals and our 2 games in the league. We beat them once. It takes 94 minutes in Athlone to beat them against 10 players. We didn't get the result in any of the other games, so we know very well what it means to play Stellenbosch. And we have to accept it, that it's going to be a game where we are going to be permanently under threat, because there's going to be transitions. It doesn't matter how good and how well we prepare ourselves for that situation. We know it's coming.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. Meanwhile, former Bafana Bafana assistant coach Thabo Senong says that he's loving his new role as the FIFA talent development scheme talent coach, and he's working under Arsene Wenger.
It is a humbling experience. He's so hands-on in the project. He mentors every talent coach full-time, and we discuss challenges. We discuss ideas that can take the game forward. We discuss the future of the game. We discuss talent ID, ways of making sure that we don't lose talent. We discuss competitions just to make sure that there's a global balance instead of a global imbalance as far as international competitions are concerned.
Well, there's Champions League action today, and Arsenal's clash with Paris Saint-Germain is the headline fixture and sees Mikel Arteta face his former club, while Ousmane Dembele has been dropped out after a fallout with Luis Enrique. Manchester City travelled to Slovakia to face Slovan Bratislava, while another heavyweight, Barcelona, are home to young boys of Bern. Celtic have their work cut out against Borussia Dortmund, and Bayer Leverkusen welcome AC Milan. Always great watching some Champions League. Still with football, FIFA has banned Cameroon Football Federation President Samuel Eto'o for 6 months over his conduct at a women's under-20 World Cup match. FIFA did not specify exactly what happened at the round of 16 game that Brazil won 3-1 against his country after extra time, but Eto'o was found guilty for breaching FIFA's rules to offensive behavior and violations of the principles of fair play, as well as misconduct of officials. He won't be able to attend men's and women's matches fixtures involving Cameroon teams of all categories and age groups as a whole. Then in rugby, the Lions are hoping that a boost of returning players from injury will definitely give them the edge in the next Vodacom United Rugby Championship outing against Scottish side Edinburgh on Saturday. The Lions beat Ulster in their opening fixture last weekend, bouncing back from the disappointment of losing the Currie Cup final the previous weekend in dramatic circumstances, but still had to pull out all the stops without a number of players. Now, fielding 6 debutants, the Lions won 35-22 in an early afternoon fixture and will now face Edinburgh, who had a close loss at Loftus Versfeld in their next game this weekend. On that note, it is a wrap from my side.
Thank you, Tumi. Full stop. There will be more sport later.
Don't start.
On SAFM, but not with Tumi.
Thank you, John.
More with Tumi again tomorrow here on SAFM.
The Market Update, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m.
Want to stay ahead of the financial game? Join us tonight from 6 to 7 p.m. for an insightful journey through the day's market developments, financial updates, and investment news. Tune in for your daily dose of financial intelligence as we navigate the twists and turns of the financial landscape with expert insights. Only on the SAFM Market Update.
SAFM Market Update with Jimmy Muyaha.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Nice promo, Jimmy. Well done.
Good afternoon, John. How are you?
You're listening to yourself on the radio. It's a weird feeling.
Very strange.
I know everything about annuities now. I was even then went in to look into the formulas of annuities, and then my brain exploded. So what's happening today?
Today's got a lot more that will hopefully not make your brain explode. But we're going to be looking at a couple of stories that have been developing throughout the day. We're going to be looking at the latest results from Capitec. They gave us their 6-month update for the 6 months ended August. I've got a conversation with the Capitec CEO, Gericke, around how well they're doing there. Then we've got a conversation with the SASME Fund. They've launched a 300 million rand seed fund aimed at providing seed capital to early stage entrepreneurs in South Africa. It's certainly something that is definitely needed in the venture capital space. We're going to speak to them about that and try and understand that fund. We're going to touch base with Leighton Beard around the latest fuel price cuts that are set to be effective midnight. We're going to look forward to those because we know we are desperately in need of those. And then we've got a conversation with Discovery around the fact that they are increasing their medical aid pricing for 2025. We're going to speak to Discovery Health, try and understand why they're doing this and how big the increase will be. And then because it's Tuesday, we've got Property Tuesday this week. We alternate that out with our Agri Tuesday features, but Property Tuesday is kicking us off in October, and we're taking a look at real estate investment trusts, REITs. They're very popular amongst the investment community. They're very stable in terms of accessing the property space. We're going to look at REITs and understand how they've performed so far and what to look forward to about the REIT space going forward. Before we get to all of that, the markets have been moving quite interestingly today. A very big day for some of our sectors. I'll do a quick summary of what's been happening. If we look at the Asian markets, they would have been trading first, obviously, throughout the day. The ASX was down about almost 1%. The Nikkei was up almost the similar margin, 0.88% there. The Hong Kong Hang Seng was up 2.5%. Shanghai's composite was closed today. Hong Kong index was also closed today, so there'd be a banking holiday in the Chinese region there. So those sectors or markets would not have been trading today. If we look at European markets, the European markets were mostly in the red. The only one in the green was the FTSE, eking out about 1/3% in gains. US markets doing terribly at the moment. We'll get to those in a second. Our own markets had a much better day. The financial sector stocks were down about 1%, but resources were up 2.5%. Industrials were down about 0.1%. As a result, the top 40 was up about 1/10%, with the all share up 0.08%, so 8 basis points in the green there. The rand giving back even more towards the US dollar, sitting at 17 rand 4 cents. 1 Australian dollar, 11 rand and 96. If we look at the commodities prices, gold prices moving again in the right direction. It's up 1%, $2,663 an ounce. Brent crude sitting around around $73 a barrel. The platinum price is back above $1,000. Palladium price still below $1,000. So the metals pricing not moving too much, but commodities still benefiting from that. Those U.S. markets that I mentioned a little earlier on, the Nasdaq down 2% at the moment. The S&P down 1.3%. The Dow down 0.8%. Anyone who's interested in cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin price $62,531 a coin, around 1,188,000 rand there. We've got these and other stories a little later on. For now, John, back to you.
I think I'll be able to understand that one. It helps to learn these things, because at my age you would think I would know what all of these things mean, but you just trust people, and sometimes that's not a good thing. Jimmy Muyaha, thank you very much. More in the Money Web Market Update coming up in about 18 minutes.
Do great solutions start with a good conversation? SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SAFM.
Let's have some of those great conversations. 17 minutes to 6. We've got our winning feature coming up in a moment. There's rooibos tea. I think we've known for a long time that rooibos tea is good for you. Well, the Cape Peninsula University of Technology has got some promising insights into the benefits, more benefits of rooibos tea. Put it down in papers. That's the important thing. But now let's have that conversation. Kandisa in Motlasana. How's it? Go ahead.
John, afternoon. How are you?
Lekker. We want to talk about Lusiki Siki.
Good. John, man, I'm very worried, John.
Mm-hmm.
We people of South Africa, we like to complain too much. Where we're supposed to assist police. We know people who are doing crimes in our townships. We know people who are stealing, who are killing people. We know them. But we scared to go to and tell the police. We do excuses that police, they will take out information. There's no such a thing. Go there and report, say, in my next door, in my neighborhood, there's somebody, it's like this person, it's not look like other persons,
I think the issue, Kandisa, is that people are fearing for their lives. If you have that kind of violent crime and you are found to be the whistleblower, they're not going to stop and to hurt you.
John, even you scared for your life. You see the situation you see it is in South Africa. They kill you even you didn't do anything.
Mm.
You see, why are you supposed to? Let me tell you, John. I want you one day you must visit the place that I'm staying in. You must visit Stilfontein here. You must come and see what we are doing here. We are not playing, John.
So have you gone to the cops? Kandisa, have you gone to the cops? Have you gone to the cops knowing about a criminal?
Look, John, we call police already. We hold the person here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But you don't go to the police?
We go and fetch that person first. And then we call police and say, if this guy, we can see him outside, somebody must see the consequences of this.
All right, Kandisa, we need to move on. Let's go to Michael in Pretoria. How's it?
Hey, all right, John. How are you?
Good.
John, I think the police led those people in Eastern Cape or that area.
Mm-hmm.
The police let them down.
Yes.
Because the way I hear, those people that were gathering to do a ceremony for, I think, John, they said they were killed 2 years back or something. But no one was arrested.
Mm.
So those people realized that they could get away with that. They came and do that, and there's a chance, John, that they could get away with it because of constitution. Even if they are arrested, John, the case will take around 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, and at the end, there's a chance that the case will be thrown out of court because of the constitution. They knew
that's not the constitution. That's the police. If the case is thrown out of court, it's because the police haven't done their job correctly, which goes to what you are saying.
No, John. Because those people, even the criminals, they will still have rights.
Yeah, they all got rights. We all have human rights.
But the criminals as well. That's
Yes.
why we find ourselves in this situation.
But that's why the police have to do their job so well, so that the police can find the facts, find the evidence, put that evidence to a judge who then decides whether that person is guilty or not.
But John, it's not for the police to do so. If
It
those
is the
people
police.
in
That's
jail-
exactly the police's job.
No. If criminals are enjoying themselves in prisons, it's not a police problem.
Okay, so hold on. So that's the second issue, right? So we've agreed, and I think you and I agree, Michael, that the police need to do their job correctly. Second of all,
I believe with you. Yes.
okay,
Yes,
then
I
the
agree
second
with you.
point is prisons should not be a holiday. And I think the new Justice Minister, the new Minister of Correctional Affairs is actually doing something about it.
But they are not prepared to do so. They are, because they say Constitution, these guys, according to the Constitution, these guys have a right as well. That's why we must take those rights of the criminals.
Yeah,
the guys must feel that they are in prison.
There are some rights that I feel personally prisoners should not have, and I think you have probably agree with some of them. We might disagree on some of them, but I think it's worth having a look. You see, there are human rights and there are prisoner rights, and then somebody, if you can't be in a civilized world, why are you given the benefits of that civilized world? So this is a conversation that we could have for a long time. But Michael,
That's the problem, yeah. And
so there's
another
two
thing,
issues you
John,
raised.
Another, yes, the one of Tembi Similani, John.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might be wrong, but I think Tembi Similani borrowed the money from that company. Ne? That turned out to be dirty money, put it that way.
Yes.
I don't see any problem for the minister to have borrowed money just like everyone else. How many people now, even the ministers, borrowed money from ABSA, Standard Bank and ABSA, and those, because they colluded, remember? Because it's those banks, it's the big banks. They don't say it's corruption. They say, no, it's collusion. They give that name.
There's more to the story. There's more to the story than her just borrowing it. There's the whole build up to that where she told people to invest in VBS. There's more to that.
No, it's all right, John.
Michael in
Thank you,
Pretoria,
man.
thank you very much for giving us your views. We're going to take a break in a couple of minutes. Let's play a voice note.
Good day, SAFM and listeners. On the issue of the JSC, look, man, it's really embarrassing actually, and then it's disheartening. I can tell you, you are asking a simple question: is there a political interference? Yes, there is political interference because of it is the DA that went to court to stop Jon Gericke not to participate. So obvious, it is there. They are interfering because of, like, one can ask, why did Jon Gericke been allowed to be in the parliament if he's not going to participate? So they must not fool us and then make things as if we can't see what they're doing. That man must be there. Thank you very much. Ali from Polokwane.
John, Kalishma Usala from Mokopan. I would imagine if at one stage Dr. Klope is elected the president of South Africa, will the Constitutional Court say he is not eligible? Because once one is a member of parliament, it's supposed to carry out all the responsibilities that any member of parliament can carry. So the court has been political. Thank you very much.
We'll take more voice notes if we have time. It's 9 minutes to 6.
Night Talk with Oliver Dixon.
When leaders need to account, we call on them. When society needs to debate, reflect, and advance, we're here to have the conversation. Join me, Oliver Dixon, on Night Talk every Monday to Thursday from 10 to 12 midnight.
Back-to-back champions, the Buccaneers, are only interested in lifting up their third consecutive title. Meanwhile, Maroon and Gold, Stellies, want to ensure that black and white fans go to bed early. This is the MTN 8 final. Wafa Wafa. Catch the reigning champs Orlando Pirates up against Stellenbosch FC on Saturday, 5 October at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC1 and SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
It's Time to crown Miss World South Africa 2024. Tune into S3 this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8 p.m. as Miss World South Africa 24 takes center stage on S3. This year's pageant will be taking place live at the Sun City Super Bowl with tickets available at Quicket. Channel your inner star with the 2024 Miss World South Africa finale this Saturday, the 5th of October at 8:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
You are listening to Jon Gericke on SFM.
Let's go to our winning feature today. A study conducted by the Cape Peninsula University of Technology has revealed promising insights into the potential cardiovascular benefits of rooibos. That's your heart. We understand the study is the first to use advanced technology to assess real-time heart function in participants with cardiovascular disease risk factors. Let's find out what I think we've always known, but now there's even more proof to the pudding. Professor Janine Monowik is director at the Applied Microbial and Health Biotechnology Institute at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. Professor, thanks very much for joining us. First of all, tell us about the study. How'd you do it?
Yes, thank you. And also, yeah, I think this is fantastic. We did this study in at-risk patients, as you mentioned. They all had cardiovascular risk factors. So we didn't want to look at patients already with cardiovascular disease, but at risk. And we asked them to consume 6 cups of rooibos per day for 12 weeks. So it was a 3-month intervention. And we measured some blood biomarkers, and then we also used this new diagnostic technology. Well, it's not new, but it's new in this sense of the study. It's called echocardiography. And it's kind of like a diagnostic ultrasound for the heart. And we also added that technology to the patients, so we could really look at their heart in real time. And through that, we could look at the function really of the heart. So we measured that before they started the study and also after they completed the 3 months of consuming rooibos, and it was really amazing the results that we could see afterwards. So there were some key cardiovascular parameters that we could measure. For example, the left atrium dimension, and also intraventricular septum thickness, and also the left ventricular mass. We could also measure all of those things, and we could see that rooibos actually had some reductions in these parameters that we measured. And that's really indicative of an improvement in your cardiac structure and also your cardiac function. So we were really excited about this. And we, of course, it's very early days, so it's really difficult for us to predict, the clinical relevance over years. So that we call from us to do another follow-up study and follow these participants over a number of years. But that's in a nutshell what we got. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to be facetious and say, you sure it wasn't just them getting up and walking to the toilet because they drank so many cups of rooibos? They just drank it. This is not like you were extracting pieces and little bits. It was just simple rooibos tea from a tea bag.
No. It's rooibos that we extracted as a water extract, so it's much easier to consume it in an extract form than obviously the 6 cups, because the previous study we did, we asked them to consume 6 cups. Now that's 1.5 liters, 1.2 liters. Some people don't enjoy that that much. But yes, we mimicked a cup of tea. So that was really easy then for us to also monitor the intake.
As you say, early days, because you're looking for one specific thing. So what is the next thing you do now to point out just how good rooibos is?
Well, it will be for us in this context to now also look at the blood biomarkers. So previous studies, we looked at the cholesterol profile, and we found rooibos to decrease that, the bad cholesterol, your LDL cholesterol, and your triglycerides. It decreased it by more than 10%. So that already gave us an indication there's something going on in terms of heart health and the promotion of heart health through rooibos. So then we went on to this step where we now actually looked at the heart itself, looking at the function. The next follow-up will definitely for us to be a longer-term study. So we have now looked at a 3-month intervention, and we did not follow up those patients, for another year or 2 years after they've had the intervention. And that would be the next study for us now to focus on what happens afterwards.
Okay,
is it a long-term effect, short-term, that type of thing.
And having rooibos, and you might find that having rooibos for too long could lead to certain things as well. You need to work all of that out.
Yeah, I don't think you can have too much rooibos for too long. I mean, it is really a plant extract. It's a natural extract. Your body knows what to do with it. It just, expels what it doesn't need. So it's not a concentrated super dose, type of scenario.
Is it? I mean, based on this, can you now go, or Big Pharma go, all right, we want to get hold of all of the rooibos, so we're going to take out whatever the chemical is that's doing this and put this into a tablet form?
Good luck to them, because it's not just one component.
Okay.
It's definitely not just one component doing this thing. We looked at certain purified compounds in rooibos, and we also looked at the extract as a whole, the tea, like the tea bag, much superior. So, I think rooibos has got a good secret there, and it really, even in the minute quantities, that whole mixture of the compounds in rooibos, that is the trick. That does the trick.
Don't put sugar into the cup of tea, though.
No, you can if you enjoy your sugar. I'm not going to preach and say you should not put sugar. Of course.
We earlier spoke to Dr. Angela Kutsia of the Medical Association. She says too much sugar is bad for you. So there we go. Let's just try and avoid it.
Of course. You have to look at it in perspective. I mean, your athletes aren't going to agree with you there.
Rooibos is this miracle plant, and as I said at the intro, we've known about just how good it is for just about everything since ancient times. And we keep finding these new things. And it's as a researcher, how excited do you get with something like that?
I really get excited. I mean, I've been working with rooibos now for 25 years, and it has never failed to, not to excite me, shall I say. It's amazing. One of the other studies we also just completed is a rooibos and an exercise study. We're looking at the ergogenic effects of rooibos. We can also improve your performance, your exercise performance, and perhaps also speed up your recovery, because oxidative stress is involved there. And that's also brought us really some good, exciting results, but we are still, as I say, processing that.
Prof, I'm changing my drink tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Professor Janine Romano, Director of the Applied Microbial and Health Biotechnology Institute at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. Yeah, rooibos. It's the answer to everything, apparently. Thank you very much to Tubi, Tebogo, Vosani, Temba, and Finney for putting the show together. I'm Jon Gericke. It's exactly 6 o'clock. All right, it's still 6 o'clock. Finney's giving me the sign to keep on speaking. Now Finney's ready. I take back my thanks, Finney. It's okay. Now it's 6 o'clock.
Thank you, John. In this latest news update, dozens of buses set alight in Rustenburg and person taken in for questioning over Lusikisiki murders. Good evening. 23 buses belonging to the Bujanala Bus Company in Rustenburg in the northwest have been set alight. The company renders services in the Bujanala and Mukhwase municipal areas. Police spokesperson Adele Myberg says they're investigating cases of malicious damage to property.
6 buses at the Bujanala bus depot at Shanming and a further 17 buses at Klaseng were set on fire to a joint estimated value of 69 million. The buses burned to ashes. Anyone who may have information that can assist the police with the investigation can contact the investigating officer, Captain Johannes Muntso of Booking Detectives on cell phone number 076 834 3531.
Action SA's opened a corruption case against the Justice Minister Thembi Sibelani at the Polokwane police station in Limpopo. The party's MP, Malebo Kobe, says they want the police to probe Simulani regarding the more than 500,000 rand loan she acquired